The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. Start out of the gate. I feel so old sometimes. I feel so old because I see stuff online and I'm like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. This was just posted 7 minutes ago. 7 minutes ago by somebody I follow. I don't even know who this is. I'm not sure why I'm following him. No offense to you, brother. You seem like a nice guy and all. But I never had any issue with you. I don't know how I started following this guy. I think it's like from like before I had like even like 100 people follow me on. So I was like trying to build some followers. So I think that might be how this guy is on my list. And that's not an offense to him. He might be a phenomenal guy. And I mean that sincerely. So this guy who I'm following, one person I'm following, Zach maybe, he posts this, and I'm like, okay, so I guess this is now a thing. 8 series to get to know me. And I haven't watched all these series. I've watched episodes of some of them, but I don't even understand. I don't understand conceptually what 8 series to get to know me means. What does that mean? Does that mean 8 series I like? 8 series where there are characters which sort of I identify with, or people say they look like me? I don't know what this means. Why do people post stuff that I don't know? Am I supposed to go through these 8 series if I really want to know Zach better? Is that my duty now? Because I think I'd like to get to know him better. As I said, he seems like he's an okay guy. I got no problem with him. But that seems like a hell of a commitment. That seems like a hell of an investment. I gotta go. I'm looking. I don't know. I mean, how many episodes we got here in these 8 series? And is it like the entire series? Is it like the early part of the series? Is more of Oz is more reflective? I assume you're not some. When you put Oz in there, I assume you're not somebody who went drinking and driving and ended up in prison as as the wench of one of these, KKK gangs. I assume that's not what he means. So when I'm watching Oz, am I supposed to be thinking about Zach? I don't understand, why do people write stuff like this? I don't believe that anyone he's like, is he like Dom Draper? Is that what I'm supposed to take from this? You're Dom Draper? I mean, it could be, maybe. I mean, if you're gonna go for like a character who seems pretty badass, and yet lifelike. I haven't watched you. I've watched like, I don't know, a couple of scenes from Mad Men. From what I understand, he's not really a very nice guy. He's kind of a little bit narcissistic. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of it. I do know that he seems like a good actor. Is his name Ham or whatever? That's not the point. Why Downtown Abbey? Is there a lot of crossover there between Mad Men and Downtown Abbey? And do I really need to sit through hundreds of hours, thousands of hours? I don't get it. Why do people write stuff like this? Why do people write it? Why? Why do people write it? It's not all chick shows. Oz is not a chick show. Oz is not a chick show. I reject that. I reject that assertion. Am I supposed to now come up with 8? I assume so. So I guess it's not really 8 series to get to know me. It's just 8 series I like. But if I say is get to know me, that's more reflect. That's the only way I can interpret this in any sort of way that would make any sort of sense. But I don't know what 8 series to get to know me. This is just the way millennials talk. That's what I'm assuming. It's just the way millennials talk. It's not really. It's just these display things that I enjoy watching. But I'm not assuming there's necessarily any characters that they identify with. No, I'm not talking about this Zach. I'm talking about the other Zach. I don't know the other. I don't know this Zach. I know this. I know this. Well, I don't even know. What I just said. I don't know him. I know this Zach. I don't know. He follows me, so he used to follow me. He's not even following me, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm done. You're not even following me. Yeah, no. Our relationship is over. I'm sorry, Zach. You seem like a nice guy and all. Maybe it was like the picture of you smoking, which I was like, all right, that just had pleasant flashbacks for me. But no, I can't. Sorry. All right. I have a feeling I'm really not gonna get to know Zach anytime soon. That's what I'm sensing. I'm not gonna get to know Zach. All right. Well, anyway, so I just want to get that off my chest. I want to share with you something else that I stumbled on. I really want to share with you, and here's the problem I have. The reason I want to share it with you is because I've seen it. It's a short that I've seen. It's pretty funny. And I can't unsee it. And it's changed my perspective about something. Like, I was like, I can't unsee that now. And if I share it with you, you will not be able to unsee this. And I just sort of feel like maybe it's not fair to do this to you. Maybe it's not fair to deprive you, because sometimes, ignorance is little bliss. We're all a little happy in our bubble, in our zone of where we're comfortable. And ignorance makes us happy. And I don't want to deprive you, because this is a guy who's, giving me hours of entertainment, and I don't want to unmask. And in less than 60 seconds, the whole veneer was just ripped off, just completely ripped off. And I was just like, wow, that's a really pretty accurate biting assessment. I'm trying to decide, like, I can't get it out of my head. And it's tell me if this is wrong. You're gonna have you tell me if this is wrong. I'll share it with you. If you don't want to lose, this is kind of an attack on Bill Burr, who I consider him one of the funniest guys on the planet. Seriously. Like, the dude, I think he's smart and entertaining, and I think he's actually a comedian. And John Lovitz ruined him for me. Like, ruined him. He ruined him for me, and I don't know what to do about this. And I don't want to ruin Bill Burr for you. In case you're like me and you've appreciated his humor, I don't want to ruin it. I feel like I'm being like, why do you have to be that guy? Why do I have to be that guy who's going to just sort of just completely... It's like, I know it's a movie. You don't have to tell me that the actor's not really dead. And that's what I sort of feel like I'm doing. Like, I'm being that guy. No, you should never be that guy. Never be that guy. And here I am. I feel like I'm walking down the road where I'm walking down the road a little bit, walking down that road. But it's funny. It's funny, and it's true. It's funny because it's true. So if you don't want to lose favorability with Bill Burr, you probably should just fast forward 5 minutes. If you're watching afterwards, just sort of turn off the volume, because this might ruin Bill Burr for you forever. It really might. Most people get ruined. Most people in the entertainment industry who get ruined is because their politics are so revolting that I can't watch them anymore. So, case in point, Tom Hanks, Robert De Niro, Seth Rogen makes me just like regret my 30s. But yeah. So now we got John Lovitz. Ruining Bill Burr for you. I'm warning you now. This is viewers' discretion, but not on the following program. It's not viewers' discretion. I'm giving you a viewer's discretion. This will damage Bill Burr for you. This is him talking to Bill Burr, and this is just biting.
This is your.
How do I need more volume? For the love of God, no, I'm not ruining this without having insufficient volume. Why do these always come up? Yeah, I thought he was dead also. I thought John Lovitz was dead also, but he's not. I definitely need more volume. Last time I tried doing this, the volume enhancement did not work on the short and ruined everything later on. I'm going to try it. We'll see if this does it. Yeah.
This is your whole act. Albert Einstein's a genius. What do you think, Bill? I don't. Is he? Is really? He couldn't even get a decent haircut. What's that? His mustache, he couldn't trim it. The guy who had AD, he was just, how'd you come up with your stuff, Albert? Oh, I sit on the couch and think for 20 minutes. Ooh, that's right, so hard.
I'm going to do your fucking act.
Go ahead.
It's so true. It's so true. He'll be like, really? Is it? That was so spot on. That is Bill Burr. That's his whole act. It really is. I don't know. I mean, Albert Einstein. Is he really like such a great man? Oh, he sat on a couch and thought about things. Dude's like, no, I'm too busy thinking. I don't have time to brush my hair. I'm too busy thinking. That's greatness. Like, I don't know. I don't. It's so spot on. It's so spot on. That was. I'm sorry. That was really accurate. But let's hear Bill Burr's take back. This is Bill Burr trying to take John Lovitz down, and John Lovitz like. John Lovitz kind of eats his lunch.
Why the chicken cross the road?
Oh, you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth. Bill Burr takes it up the butt. You wake up in the morning and you brush your hair. Bill Burr takes it up the butt. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, as simple as ABC. You wake up in the morning and you take a breath of air. Bill Burr takes it up the butt, up the butt, up the butt, up the butt. That's my act.
Hey.
That's a man who knows his own act. Yeah. So there you go. Tell me. You think Bill Burr won that clash? Because I don't think so. I don't think Bill Burr won that clash. Like John Lovitz is like, no, I will be childish in my humor. I'll be childish in my humor, and I can embrace that. So, all right. Well, anyhow, I stumbled on that today, and every time I think through any Bill Burr bit, any segment of his, I'm hearing that whole really. He's like, well, I don't know. It's pretty funny. It's funny because it's true. That's why. That's the only reason it's funny. Anyhow, so apparently, Mr. Donald Trump did a town hall with Laura Ingraham. Did a town hall with him, and I missed it. Apparently, there was a part 2 tonight. We're watching part 1. If you're wondering, we're watching part 1. I don't expect to get to part 2. Maybe I'll do part 2 tomorrow. Depends how part 1 goes. Let's see. Anyhow, let's do it. Oh, and by the way, go to hell, Fox, with your stupid blockages. You have to be like a Verizon subscriber. I wasted 45 minutes. I had my daughter, who's my computer person, who's, I don't know, leaving my house in 2 days, like trying to like get me in to show that I'm a Verizon user, and then I had to make a new password, and even the new password they didn't I was just like, you suck. Like, why can't you just be normal? Why can't it just be normal? Let people access your stuff, critique it. I know you got advertisers. I know you got bills to pay. I understand that. I understand capitalism. I get the whole thing. You're interviewing freaking Donald Trump, and it's like you have a town hall meeting with him. You're gonna make it like I gotta like go through these backdoor hoops and stuff like that. It's so aggravating. You suck. So yeah, Fox, you suck. Just that's my initial criticism of this video. But there will be more, because yesterday I got hit with copyright strikes. Most notably, you might notice it if you're on YouTube. Most notably, Warner Brothers, ABC, whoever runs the Daily Show, whoever runs TDS Central, struck my video, and not just one of these copyrights like "we want your money," which is one type of copyright claim. No. This is blow up the whole thing. No one can watch it. Now, I actually did a reassessment of that video. I did a reassessment, and I think that there probably were like moments of like 3 minutes or so where I didn't give sufficient commentary. So I edited down that part out from the YouTube variant. Well, I took out like 50. I don't know if it's eligible to be seen now or not. I don't know if you can see it on YouTube. I'm trying to like remedy. I was like, I'm not giving on the entire. They wanted me to cut out 23 minutes of my show yesterday, and I was like, no. The last 5 minutes of it was very little. It was like 30 seconds. Jon Stewart, 4.5 minutes of me yelling at Jon Stewart. So no, I'm not agreeing to that part of it. But I can recognize that there were parts where I was just sort of like too quiet for too long. So that's what happened to that. If you were trying to watch it on YouTube. It's still available on Rumble. So, Bella Stella says, "Good evening, Joe, and everyone. Thank you, Joe. Did you forget Rumble? It's still looping. I didn't forget Rumble. For the love of God, did I forget Rumble? Are you so All right, I hope I fixed that. I thank you for telling me this. Let me see if I fixed it. All right, I did fix it. I don't know what the heck happened. I apologize to my Rumble ghetto. I apologize to you in Rumble land. But I spared you from having Bill Burr ruined for you, so that's good. You're welcome. I was like, if I play that sketch on Rumble, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna hate me for something besides my DNA. So that wouldn't be good. I need to limit the reasons for them to hate me over there. Yeah. No, they give it boisterous, but I apologize to you guys, to you Rumble folks. I'm not sure exactly why it is that happened, but yeah. Anyhow, we haven't started the review yet of the Trump town hall, so we're good. My youngest baby's pregnant with my second grandbaby. Oh, congratulations! That's awesome. I'm so happy for her and me. LOL. They need to stop cutting him off. He has great ideas unimpeded. I assume you're talking about Trump with that, not your first grandbaby. I assume you're talking about Trump. I'm gonna go with that assumption, and we'll see. I haven't watched this.
Nomination. Now, former two-term South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is poised to lose by a wide margin, but she remained defiant earlier today. We're going to hit all of this and more with the man of the hour. Joining me now, Donald J. Trump.
Why are you so loud? That was very loud for me. I don't know about for you. That was very loud for me. Oh, you think I don't see what happens there? Well, you think I don't see it? You think I don't see it? I don't see it. You don't have to comment on it. I see it. Most Rumble folk love me. Well, there are a couple of odd haters there. And they're not too shy about it. So, yeah. How you doing, Eric? Good to see you, my brother. I like how you picked that up. I tried mumbling it. It was like a very soft joke. And by the way, if you want, you don't have to watch 8 series about me to find this out about me. I know this is something that Rumble folk don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Sorry for that. But I started the show showing this trend that I just stumbled on about. You have to watch 8 series to get to know. If I want to get to know someone, I gotta watch 8 TV series to get to know them. But yeah, I do that all the time. Like I'll sort of like be engaging and like stuff like that, and I will mumble a joke. And I don't know why I do this, and I've done it for decades, and probably since I was a teen. I'll mumble a joke to myself just to amuse myself, not expecting anyone to hear it. And I sometimes end up doing it on stream, that's what the DNA joke was. Did you say Mumble Biden's new? Did I see Mumble Biden's new platform? I don't think I did. By the way, Pam, I want you. Seeing you here reminds me, because Pam's someone who actually will sometimes send me some money through PayPal, just like a nice little tip and stuff like that. I want to acknowledge Elizabeth. Who regularly like has this thing where she's like, I'm sending you my regular $50 a month, and I assume she catches every show. She doesn't comment much in the chat. I just want to give you a heads up if you are watching. I just want to say thank you. It's very, very generous and much appreciated. A lot of times when people send me stuff on PayPal, they'll write out a lengthy thing, and for one reason or another, I can't access it through my email. My PayPal app doesn't show it, so I'll see like the first 9 words of what they write, and then that's it. So there was a whole thing about Texas girl, Oklahoma, and I couldn't even read it. So I apologize for that. But I don't want people to think that they send me stuff and I don't notice it. So I just want you to know I notice it and genuinely appreciate it, and I'm expressing publicly my thank you. So thank you. Let's get back in. I haven't seen the new platform. Maybe I'll check that out at some point. Thank you for calling Play Company. All right, here we go. Let's go. Play Hail to the Chief. Dun, 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 dun.
Welcome, sir. It's always good to see you. It's been a while, been a couple of years since we've done a big event with you like this. And just in time for your appearance today, there's a new Suffolk poll out just now a few days before the big primary. And among those very likely to vote, you're up over Nikki Haley by close to a 2-to-1 margin, 63 to 35.
Not really 2-to-1, but it's
today she refused to step aside and said this.
Many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him.
Share with us. Because you're giving us the inside scoop about what politicians are saying privately. Thank you, Nikki. We need your perspectives, Nikki. Thank you, Nikki.
They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. Some people used to say I was running because I really wanted to be vice president. I think.
Oh, God help us. No. I'm going to say this, okay? The only thing at this juncture that can make me question supporting Donald Trump is if he made this crazy Vildachaya, if he made her vice president, that is the one thing that would make me feel like I can't do it. That's how deeply against her she's made me. Like she would like just make me like I don't think I can push that button. I'll tell you right now. I'll still keep hating on Biden, but she's that terrible. And to put her that close to levers of power, give her that kind of respect, that kind of recognition. Oh my God. No. Never, ever. That is like taking a step forward for the next 4 years so that we can take a step backwards for the next 20 years. I can't. I'll tell you right now. if he picks a Nikki Haley as his VP, and I don't think he's going to announce his. Usually, they don't announce the VP candidate until after they get officially recognized. So, until they get officially, recognized by the party as the presidential candidate, they usually never tell us who their vice president is going to be. Ever. I mean, we didn't hear Mike Pence's name until I'm fairly certain after the 2016 RNC, the RNC's version of a coronation of their chosen candidate. They never do it. So, but oh my God, that would just I would be losing my mind. I would be losing my mind. I would have a very difficult time not spending night after night crushing on how terrible Nikki Haley is. This Warhawk crazy, self-interested, terrible, drag us into every war everywhere across the planet, burn our money and flames that we send over to our military industrial complex. I couldn't. No genuine belief in free speech, because when you want to have online strip away anonymity, that's basically a way of trying to chill free speech. This is not a conservative. This is not conservative values. There's nothing about her that is conservative. Nothing. So no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is your 1980s Republican is not conservative. Can we just save money and end this charade? Of the whole election? Yeah. Whole primary? Yeah, that would be nice. Laura Ingraham didn't support Trump's claims of election fraud, but at least she's not Skeletor, aka Ann Coulter, who has totally trashed Trump. You know what? And I'm done with these folks. I'm done with them. They're so bitter about the fact that they recognize this rise of populism, which is killing them. It's killing them. I'm done with them. To me, they're really, in my crosshairs. Yeah, I mean, our crazy leftists. I'm not supporting any of these people. You'll never hear me say, oh, this is thank God they won. You won't. If Nikki Haley was replacing AOC in New York, I don't know that I would consider that a win. Okay? That's how much I hate this woman. And I didn't. And the interesting thing is 6 months ago, I didn't hate her this much. The more she's campaigned, not because it's against Trump, not because it's a Trump loyalist can't stand. No. It's the more I've heard her express her ideas, opinions, and attitudes as to what a healthy America looks like that I've said, oh my God, this woman needs to be kept far away from any levers of power.
I think I've pretty well settled that question.
Has she settled that question?
Well, I settled it about 3 months ago.
Nice.
She's not working. She's here. She's down by 30, 35 points. And everybody knows her. You're not supposed to lose your home state. Shouldn't happen anyway. And she's losing it big. I mean,
bigly.
I said bigly and bigly. She's
losing it bigly.
We're going to really do a job.
She's losing it bigly.
As you know, when we went to Iowa, we got the biggest margin in the history of the caucus, the biggest. That's a long time.
Why do you think she's staying in the race?
I don't think she knows how to get out, actually. I really don't. She did terribly in New Hampshire. She got the only vote she got was from
I think she's building a campaign war chest. I think that's why she's doing it. I think that she feels like I have massive donors behind me now, all these neocons behind me now. So the bigger the war chest I have, I don't have to spend all of it now. And I will put that war chest aside, amass a massive war chest, and then save that for 28. That's what I think this is. I think that she's hoping to build a huge war chest that she will carry forward 4 years from now. That's my speculation.
Money behind her. What do they think they're
Well, they're trying to hurt me because of the general election. So the Democrats are giving her money, and she's playing into the game. And I think she just can't get herself to get out. She's doing poorly in the polls. Look, if she was doing well, I'd understand it. But she's doing very poorly. She lost in record numbers in Iowa, record numbers in New Hampshire.
We
Nevada.
We punched our ticket in Iowa.
No name. We had no name.
Well, she and Biden have like almost, in a way, some would say team up together. They're Biden's people to say, look, if you're going to complain about age, Trump's demeanor, Trump makes mistakes, forgets names. She's trying to equate Biden's decline, which is fairly obvious, with you for being, 77.
Well, he's declined, and there's no question about it. But he was always sort of semi-declined. If you go back 25 years, no, but he was not one of the smarter people. He's tried to be president many times, 4 times at least that they know of. And all of a sudden, when he's most diminished, this is when he hit, and he did it. But if you look at me, I feel, and I really mean this, and I would tell you, and I think you tell me too, because we've known each other a long time. If I felt diminished, okay, let's use a nice term. If I felt diminished or declined any way, I think I'd know it. And I think I'd say, I'm not running. Somebody should talk to him. But if he runs, he runs. He doesn't seem to be, I heard you say that he's very persistent, and he probably is. I think most people, I think that most people that run would.
I laughed at that also. I was wondering, what does that mean when you're saying he's tried running 4 times that they know of? That's pretty funny. I thought it was funny also. I think it could be that it's like what he's saying is sometimes you might put out like a feeler in private and polls that you're hoping you have a chance to run, but if they come back disastrously, you don't. So I think that's what he meant by that. But yeah, I caught that also. Robert's awesome. He is awesome. Big fan of Robert Gouveia.
Be stubborn or persistent and, just not want to give up the ghost. But, we have a nation to run. We have a nation that has to survive. We have nuclear weapons and the likes of which, and you don't even want to know about it, the most powerful weapons in the history of the world, so powerful that you don't even want to talk about them. And we have him negotiating for us. And in his best years, he couldn't have negotiated well. Now he has no clue what's happening. And I know Putin very well, and I know President Xi of China. I know them all. Kim Jong-un, I know very well. I did a great job with him.
Do you think they'd prefer him to remain as president because they believe that they can dominate the global, the global situation much easier with him in office?
Well, they want him very badly to be president. I mean, I'm sure a lot of money is being spent on between Russia and China, no question with China, Russia too. Look, Ukraine would have never happened. I know Putin so well, and it was the apple of his eye. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I said, don't ever do it. It would have never happened, by the way.
We're going to get into that in a minute, but back to Biden and his current state, whatever you want to call it. Will you challenge him to regular debates, regardless of the concern about the moderators? I know that's always annoying, but I'll be happy to moderate one, by the way. Would you challenge?
You think she wouldn't be happy to moderate one? And yeah, the reason he has to debate Biden, he didn't. I think ultimately, and this is one of the things a lot of people critique him for not appearing at the RNC debates. And I've talked about this in the past, but there's 1,200 of you here on YouTube and another several hundred of you over on Rumble. So I just want to share this thought. You can look at debates as being that it's to inform the public, or you can look at them as enriching the status and appeal of the candidates. Those are 2 different bases to have a debate, so that the public's more informed about their positions or to increase their popularity. And he's not the first one to look at debates as a vehicle to increasing his chances of success. So if it's a vehicle to enrich his chances of success, and he was already lapping the field strategically going into those debates, was a no-win scenario. All he could do is try and hold serve. Why would he do that? When not appearing, kept him just as popular. You know what stopped him from coming to the debates? I'll tell you what stopped him from coming to the debates. He would have had to debate. You know why he didn't have to debate? 4 indictments. That's why. 4 indictments. 4 indictments basically made up the minds of the public that this is our guy. That's why. The very thing that makes Stephen Colbert wet his panties and scream, "This is not normal." That's why he's not just the RNC candidate. He's a candidate who never had to debate because he became our chosen figure. That's what it is.
Jim, come on, Joe, you can do it. Will you challenge him to a debate regularly on focused specific topics? In other words, so it's not a wide-ranging, just one debate on foreign policy.
Well, I'll do it right now on your show. I'll challenge him right now, and we can do you can do anybody you want. I'll take anybody from CNN, which is doing very poorly in the ratings, by the way, as you probably know.
He loves hating on
I'll
them.
take anybody.
Fake
Because I
news.
think you have an obligation in this case. You really have an obligation to debate. When it came to the Republicans, I was up by 40, 50, 60 points, like being up on her. I think a poll just came out. I'm at 91 and she's at 7. And would you debate? You want to be smart. You don't have to waste your time doing
But that would be instructive to see you versus Biden on any given topic.
Regardless of poll numbers. I'm way up on him now in the polls. And
I want to get your theories. And if you're watching afterwards, drop a comment down below. There's a very interesting thing that we've seen with Biden where they're trying to get to juice, like squeeze the last bits of juice from this lemon. And they're trying to squeeze and squeeze those last bits of juice from him, where we see that there are days he will come out there and he seems much stronger. And then there are days, which are most days, where he just seems like a doddering old man who can't formulate a sentence. And then we'll see, like, he'll come for some sort of thing where, like, he can go like for like up to like an hour, where he'll give a speech, let's say at the state, like a State of the Union type of thing, where he doesn't. I understand the prompt. They give him a prompt. I understand that it's all pre-written and stuff like that, but he doesn't give off the air of being a doddering, cognitively deficient individual while he's reading it, the way he does almost all the other times. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how they manage to prop him up like that for even an hour, because that's how he's so deficient. He's so deficient. He's such a walking corpse right now, that it's amazing to me that they can get him up there. And I'm sure that they're confident that whenever they host this debate, which he's going to have to debate, that when they have that debate, it's going to be, they're going to find some way to prop him up and make him look, at least as effective as he looks when he's doing his stupid State of the Unions. But I don't know. I'll tell you this much. If they don't have that confidence that he can do it, there won't be debates. He'll be like, he'll come up with something like, I'm not debating that crazy fascist, I'm not going to give him the legitimacy of debating him, because he's a criminal. He's a criminal. He shouldn't be on that stage, and the RNC should be embarrassed that they made him their candidate, and I'm not going to even give him the recognition of a debate. That's what we'll hear him be barking out there if his handlers do not believe he's capable of sitting for an hour and a half and debating. Or you can look at debates as a vehicle for liberal moderators to pick winners and sabotage those they don't like. See Chris Wallace. Yeah. Well, that's exactly why. That's what I meant. I mean, that's part of it, is like there's only downside. But it's correct, Dad. Mike Pence group launches $20 million effort to defeat populism and conservative movement. I saw that headline, because I guess somehow American intercession into every conflict across the globe is now somehow conservative. That's conservative. I guess if you're living in the 1980s, if you still think that neon pink is the color of choice for your ties, then yeah, that's the right. That's a conservative perspective. If not for the tomfoolery, he would be ending his final term soon. Far left learned nothing in 2016, and the doubling and tripling down has only helped. It's true.
Frankly, I think we have an obligation. When you have the final Republican, the final Democrat, you have the two people you have to debate regardless of polls.
How many debates would you commit to?
As many as necessary. I would like to do it starting now. I don't think he's going to debate, though. I really don't think so.
I think he's right.
We had a debate where at the end of the debate, he admitted I was right about almost everything, but in particular on energy. Do you remember I said, I feel like Perry Mason, the way you just collapsed? And he admitted everything about energy, and that's what actually happened, and that's why your energy costs went up 3 and 4 times. I mean, we had $1.87, and he was up to $5, $6, $7, and that's going to happen immediately after the election. Let's not even talk about if he wins. We can't allow it to win. We're not going to have a country left. But that's going to be, you will have energy costs, and this whole concept of all electric, everybody having an electric vehicle, they don't go far. People don't want that. They want everything. They may want electric, but they also want other choices.
Do you believe the push to control gas stoves, you know, how far you could drive by forcing people into electric vehicles, all the new edicts that they really want to push out? What's really behind that? Do you believe there's a bigger agenda to kind of control movement, control people's freedom of movement?
Well, a lot of people said that. I'm not sure. I just think they maybe are just mixed up or confused. They come out with faucets where no water comes out. You know, if you go and buy a home, and they know what I mean, the showers, you stand under a shower and there's no water coming, and you're saying you end up standing there 5 times longer.
But they want that. They want the dishwashers to be changed. All of that is part of the agenda.
So in Ohio, you have a great company that came to me, a dishwasher company, one of the biggest and finest companies, but they were going out of business. They said, we're not allowed to use water. And they also had a problem where South Korea was making washing machines, dishwashers, and other things, and dumping them into our country. I put tariffs on them, 50% tariffs, and I saved that company. Now it's a thriving company. But what's happening between other countries coming in free, you can't go into those countries, but they can come into us. We can go.
I just want to pause and just reflect on what he was saying earlier, where he's like, I don't know if she asked him if he thinks they're trying to control the population. And you, me, and most people would just give a quick knee-jerk yes to that this is ultimately about control. But he did not give that answer. He's like, I don't know. Maybe they're just idiots. It's possible they're just idiots. Which there is a saying, never attribute to malice that which you can attribute to stupidity. If they are idiots, if you're going to look at it from that perspective, it really depends on when you're saying they, who they are. Because they is obviously such a broad term that every member of the T community is very happy to embrace it, because it's so freeing to use that term. But when you say they, it's very amorphous. Is they referring to Chuck Schumer? Is they referring to Nancy Pelosi's Rashida Tlaib's, Ilhan Omar's? Is they referring to the Bill Gates, the Jeff Bezos's, Mark Cuban's? Who is they? And I think it probably, if you want to give the benefit of the doubt, you can say, and the way he seems to be giving them the benefit of the doubt, it'd be much easier for him to really just come out there and say, yeah, they're evil. That would be a very easy thing for him to say. Yeah, Biden's evil. But what we've seen, I think it's possible to make a philosophical argument that within that camp, there is very strong evil. And those who are wielding the levers of power, if they themselves are not evil, they are certainly far too malleable to the will and desires and the money of those who are evil. That's ultimately what we're looking at. In other words, when I look at Biden, I look at it as being a self-interested, how do I enrich myself? I don't care about American values and stuff like that. Does that mean that he wants to see that he can basically exert his thumb on everyone and control them and silence this person and sit there like the Mad King, just saying, off with his head, no, cut out his tongue? I don't know that I can attribute that to his agenda, to what it is he wants. But I do think that too many people who are controlling the puppet's hands do have an evil agenda, and that he is pliable to he and those of his ilk are pliable to their mindset, either because they feel like it's enriching themselves politically, or their campaign finances, or that this is a necessary thing for them to do to survive in the environment that they're in. Meaning, if you feel like your survival requires capitulation to powerful forces, and you don't have any sort of backbone or spine or actual integrity or real values or moral system, well, in that case, all right, this is what is the demands that are being made of me. Much like a cucked husband is like, okay, honey, I'll do what you want. So too many of these politicians, and it's also politicians on the right, some of them, but they're sort of willing to fold to the people who are issuing these demands. And we've seen this, by the way. Whoa, what happened to my lighting? All of a sudden it just went weird on me. It just went pale. We've seen this. I'll give you a classic example. Okay, I mean, I don't really want to get into the whole. We've seen their positions change and just constantly being modified based on their constituents screaming and screaming and screaming. I mean, all of a sudden, for example, the Middle East situation, we've seen how Biden now is taking a completely different tack today than he was 2 months ago. You think he just changed his mind, or you think he saw the polling in his own camp that's what the leftists want him to do, and they're out there marching, and he's like, I'm going to lose my election unless I basically reverse policy and do a 180 here, because he's a pliable wet noodle. I mean, that's essentially what he is. And now they're pushing the wet noodle this way. I mean, that's essentially what we're seeing. So it's an interesting thing, because I would not have answered the question. You likely would not have answered that question. I'm saying, when I say you, I mean most of you, my audience, would likely not have answered the question he did the way that Trump just did. And I think that's a really interesting reflection on his mindset. Wellesley says, do you think they hope he leaves the earth for political influence or change of perspectives on him? They hope he's leaving the earth for political influence or change of perspective on him. I'm not sure what change of perspective on Trump. Oh, in other words, that someone rids us, someone puts him down. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Debbie, working in hospice, found that there are drugs that minimize the appearance of dementia symptoms. Oh, this is answering my Biden question, how they managed to prop him up. The problem is the results are short-lived. They'd have to juice him up about 30 or 45 minutes into a debate. I think in his last speech, he went for like an hour. And I was mystified, because I was like, he didn't show the regular signs of dementia that we've seen from him far too frequently for any of his supporters' tastes over the last year. Green energy would be fine if we had the infrastructure to support it. Trying to force it is the problem. We don't have the capacity to do it by 2030. It's also not remedying anything, and it will make us broke. And all of the science behind it has been fudged to motivate us to do this. That's the problem. When it comes to climate, I'm going to tell you this. I don't think it's good for us to allow people to just willy-nilly destroy our waterways. You know, you have to be stupid to think that just cutting down every tree on the planet is good for a society long term. You sort of do need to recognize that having a healthy earth and not wasting resources is just common sense. But the science that they've shared with us, and they're given their complete lack of knowledge or understanding about our ecology on a long-term scale, is a joke. It's really a joke. They know nothing about what the earth was like 200 years ago. They ignore any evidence that contradicts or refutes the narrative. They pretend didn't happen, starting timelines from like right after there were massive changes in climate. And they just ignore those periods in the Middle Ages when there was massive increase then. What was that? Was that man-made carbon emissions then? No, we'll start it from right after that period and say, oh, look at what happened now. It's like our knowledge on this topic is so thoroughly limited. If this is the ambit of understanding the ecology, it's like we understand like this much of it, and because that part that they want to focus on, even what we understand, they don't take all of our understanding. Instead, they select portions of it and say this leads us to conclude that we need to take these steps. And even if we took those steps, it would not remediate anything, because instead of actually doing it here, we just farm it out to China, as if whatever the ecology is over the country, the great vast country of China, is not impacting the earth. It's the stupidest thing in the world. So all you're basically doing is saying, let's virtue signal that we're the good guys and make ourselves broke for that purpose, when it's not fixing anything for a problem that we don't even understand. And the solutions that they're giving you, correct, EHEF, are not solutions that we could are actually sustainable, because we don't have a power grid. So and every time they have a solution, it's like the solution seems to be almost worse than the problem that they're trying to solve. And classic examples, we see this all the time. In New Jersey, they ban plastic bags. So instead, they get these hard, you can't give it up. You can go to a grocery store, you have to bring your own bags. I know this because I live in Jersey. Okay, you have to bring your own stupid bags. So what do they have now? These much harder construction bags that are far more formidable, that you can reuse, that they'll sell them for $1.25, and you can carry 6 bottles of soda. And I gotta tell you, the bags are actually fairly strong, and apparently decomposing them is next to impossible. And the increase in plastics, wasted plastics we have now, are far, far worse than they were before this entire thing was enacted. They keep implementing it, so they're telling us that there's a problem, and they lie in order to encourage us to say, oh, we have to jump on board, just jump in there, just solve the problem, here's our solution. And we don't question the science, because it's the science, which I went through that yesterday. I'm not going to rant about the science again, and that's what the science says. And here's our solution, which will just make the problem worse and is going to make us poorer. But I came up with the answer because for a problem that we don't know exists. It's like I can't stomach it. And that makes you think, like, who's behind this? And what invariably is behind it is it's a few very, very evil people and seemingly tens of millions of idiots who can't critically analyze anything. And sitting there casting their moral judgments. How dare you not worry about your grandchildren and what you're doing to the planet? Idiots. I can't. Maybe it's the transitive there. Yeah, that's what I said. Break out the pharmaceutical grade for meth. Pharmaceutical grade meth for Biden. I like that. I was asking about Biden. Oh, you were asking about Biden when you said, "Do you think they hope he'll leave the earth for political influence or change of perspective on him?" They're hoping that he kicks it. See, here's the thing. Okay, so that's an interesting question. That they hope that Biden's going to bite the bullet. I think that they started trying to figure out, how do we get around the Kamala problem? Because Kamala is a problem for them. Like, how do we get rid of her? They don't want her because they know no one likes her. The only one who's going to vote for her is a whole bunch of black women, but no one else is going to vote for her. No one likes her. She's so. She's like purple cheese. You look at it and you're like, why would such a thing be invented? That's what people think when they see Kamala. Why was such a thing ever invented?
Go into China and pay $100 tariff on a car. They used to come in here. Now I put a 27.5% tariff on cars.
That's the only reason their EVs are not swamping the United States. They're all over Mexico right now. The EV market is being cornered by China around the globe.
We would be dead if I didn't put that tariff on. I was going to raise it to 50%. It's 27.5. Otherwise, everybody would be dealing, not even a car they liked, but they'd be dumping them into our country. So what's happening now is China is going to Mexico and building massive automobile plants, and they think they're going to come in and just sell those cars from Mexico without a tariff into our
Will
country.
that happen under Biden if he actually won a second term? Do you think your tariffs would be pulled off?
Well, he can't do it now because it's so much money we're taking in. We took in $450 billion with my tariffs from China. Not one other president took in 10 cents. If I didn't do what I did with tariffs to China, I don't even think we'd be sitting here right now. It was so.
But he left a lot of them in place. He hasn't removed those. Do
Well,
you
he
think
can't
in a second
because economically he can't.
But in a
his whole
second
budget-
term, would he?
I think he'd remove them.
What do you think Hunter Biden did or promised or winked about to get that money that he got? He's obviously not a financial
Well, for
whiz.
many look.
That was a radical topic shift. We were talking economy and international trade, and next thing you know, let's talk about Hunter Biden. All right. I don't really. There's a lot going on with Hunter Biden. There's a lot going on in the news with Hunter Biden, and I used to cover Hunter more, and I've covered it less of late, only because I feel as if it's so transparently it's a political hit job in the sense that he's insulated from on high. So is he genuinely a corrupt person, individual? Yes. Has he sold out America? Yes. Should he be punished? Yes. Should he spend the rest of his life in prison? Yes. I can easily say yes to all of these questions, along with his dad and his Uncle Joe, who had his deposition behind closed doors today. And I will point this out. In his deposition, all the reports are that he said Joe's got, sorry, his Uncle James, he's like, Joe had nothing to do with this, nothing to do with this, nothing to do with this. Of course he's going to say that. He wants to keep him in power. Of course he's going to say that. Does that mean, I mean, come on. You're just ignoring all the text messages you sent out there? Of course he's going to say that. He has to say that. These closed door depositions are just very aggravating. It's just like we just get the filtered, what are they want us to hear reports on them. So, but the reason why I think the Hunter Biden issue is somewhat overplayed is because we all know that he has a pocket pardon. We all know that. Yeah, I think you're an idiot if you don't believe that he already has a pardon for any potential crimes, a pardon for anything related to his international business dealings. There you go. Boom. Easy 2 sentences covered. Any of his international business dealings or drug-related offenses. There you go. You just covered Hunter Biden. Or anything alleging influence dealing, just a blank pardon. Hereby pardon from all crimes ever committed by him ever before. There you go. Now what? What are you going to do with that? So that's why I'm like, so now we know that he's I mean, it's crazy. I can't believe that they'd be stupid enough not to have Biden sign that in case, God forbid, from Hunter's perspective, Joe has a stroke tomorrow. So, they have to be, if I was Hunter, I'd be like, Dad, sign the pardon now. And we'll just put it away. We'll put it on the side and have it notarized. So there's no question that, it's someone's forging your signature and sign that pardon now because, God forbid, in case there's any sort of health issues you have. And I'm sure Joe would sign it. So, yeah. So all this machinations about getting him thrown in prison is basically like you're a hamster on a wheel trying to get to the next cage. It's like, you're not getting there. You're never getting there. You're not making any ground there. Well, so what do you have? You have political points that you're able to basically score and say, oh, you see, here's another thing Hunter did. Here's another thing Hunter did. Here's another thing Hunter did. Okay. None of the voters seem to really care very much about it. So it becomes a rallying point for the right, which is empty. It feels empty because I know that there's no victory dance at the end. That even he would to be, criminally, whatever criminal charges you throw at him, there's no victory dance at the end. So it's very hard for me to get all ratcheted up about it. I feel like I'm wasting my time.
I mean, from Ukraine, it was crazy because he was on the board. He was paid $183,000 a month. He got $3 million up front, according to what I read.
But they say Joe Biden, there's no evidence that Joe Biden received any financial benefit.
Yes, there is.
Personally.
There's tons of evidence of that. Yes, there is. They're even indicting the person who put the finger on him for putting the finger on him, saying that he personally got money. Yes. He sold influence. Yes. Tons of evidence. You don't consider 10% for the big guy? Why don't people consider that evidence? That's far more. That's 1,000 times stronger than anything that they used when they were convicting Zachariah Anderson of his purported crimes that he committed. But there's no evidence. No evidence. I'm tired of this garbage. Aside from the whistleblower.
And to that, you say?
Well, he's got a lot of houses all over the place, and he's never been paid more than about $179,000, I guess, is the top. Look, he's gotten a lot of.
Yeah, that's some evidence right there. That's some evidence right there. Tax evasion. There you go. How the heck did he amass those types of monies?
Money. Hunter's gotten a lot of money. Hunter gets millions of dollars just for sitting on a board.
And you're correct, by the way. They just completely ignore Tony Bobolinsky. They ignore everything.
Energy board, and he admits that he knows nothing about energy.
Why do you think Joe Biden was able to raise $42 million in January? He's just headed out to California. He'll be at the home of Haim Saban. You know him as a big pro-Israel benefactor, multi-billionaire. Why are the billionaires rallying to Joe Biden?
Well, look, they like me too. They made more money with me than they ever made before.
They did, so why are they
But that was in a
rallying to
positive. I'll tell you, the ones that I love are the ones that pay me on average $61, and I'm raising millions and millions of dollars. $61, and some of them do it every single month. That's the one. Because they're globalists and they want to just take over this country. They're globalists. They represent China. They have a lot of money in China. You know, China is very smart. They have all of these guys locked up. And, you know, if you go to China, they want you to build a car plant. If you build cars, if you make cars, they don't want you to build cars here. They want you to make cars, but they want you to make them in China. They don't want you to make them here. There's so much money that is tied up in China and some of these other countries. You know, everybody mentions China. The European Union is a disaster. I said to Angela Merkel before she left, before she destroyed Germany, and she did a bad number in Germany, I will tell you. And I liked her. Maybe that's why, because I'm for here. I'm for here, and they're for their country. And they are for their country, and I don't blame them for being. But I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in the middle of Munich? She said, why? I don't believe any. I said, that's right, Angela. That's not fair. We're going to change it because they have Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen. They have all of BMW.
They protect their industry.
They protect it, and they protect it from farm products. They protect it from everything. It's so unfair. I had that all changed around, all good. And then these guys come in and they destroy our country again. But there's no greater destruction than what's happening at our border, where they're letting millions and millions.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that next block. So up next, the issue at the top of the mind, as former President Trump just said, the border and what illegal immigration is doing to the country that we love. More with Donald Trump from Greenville, South Carolina, after this.
Thank you.
All right. So there you go. There you go. Just saw there's a public ethics hearing for Fannie Willis in Fulton County. Really? Really? Interesting. Public ethics hearing. Wow. So, okay. Can I pause for a moment and weigh in on this? Because I'm seeing a lot of people talk. A lot of people are talking about the whole election finance pocket, stash of cash that she has, and what in a quick utterance that she made when she was under oath, when she said that part of it came from when she borrowed money, she kept some of the stuff from her campaign. That when she was raising money for a campaign, she she put some of it aside as cash, and people are looking at that as an admission that she committed a crime, that she basically pocketed campaign funds and now using it to go on trips with Nathan Wade, which that sounds very illegal. Sounds very illegal. But I don't know. I don't think. I mean, I saw this report from the Georgia Star News that everyone's talking about here. I'm going to pause in this, and I know that you all want me to get back to this thing. This is the clip over here. Anyway, I know I put this aside. I'm out of here.
Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much.
So what did she say there? So when I took out money for a campaign,
I kept some of the cash of that. Like, I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign. I kept some of the cash of that. Like,
what is that? What is taking money out on her campaign? That doesn't sound like campaign funds to me. And look, I mean, do I think she's crooked? 100%. Of course she's crooked. She's crazy. She's a lunatic. And, you know, my personal opinion of her is that she's highly corrupt, and that she's certainly motivated by bias to try and find some way to try and trump up some charges against Donald Trump. So, yeah, it's not like I'm not looking to find her innocent. I'm simply saying that statement to me.
To tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today.
So I don't look at that admission there as telling, maybe I'm missing something. I understood that when I heard it as her saying that she borrowed money for her campaign and kept some of that money. So that would be money from a third party. I don't think that would be a violation of her election duty, of her election finance reporting or election spending. If she borrows money, let's say she borrowed money against a house, and she told the bank that she was doing it for her election, and much of it was spent on her election, and some of it was spent on her own private that she decided to put aside for herself. I don't think there's anything illegal there. I don't think there's anything illegal. She withdrew campaign funds from her 401k under special COVID rules. Maybe. That's probably what she's talking about. I don't know if that's illegal. Campaign election finance laws, or election finance laws in general, are so freaking complex. I spent like an hour and a half yesterday trying to sort through this because of this. I was like, I don't know enough about campaign election finances and how that works that I feel confident, discussing it on air. So I was like, let me start doing some research on this so I can understand it better. Let me do that. I want to be informed if I'm talking about this. And after spending an hour and a half, I felt like, okay, I need like another 2, 3, maybe 70 hours to really feel like I got it. Like I understand the general parameters of it well enough to discuss it intelligently. So that's why I'm like, I think people are expecting that they're going to find that she did stuff, and maybe they will, but I don't see anything in that statement, which is an admission that's going to nail her. That doesn't mean that she hasn't done countless things that are illegal. I wouldn't be at all surprised if she did. I'd be sort of surprised if she didn't. I'm simply saying I don't think that's the smoking gun that a lot of people seem to think it is. The issue is that all the large payments to Wade were cash versus Cash App with others. Oh, I agree with you. I mean, that the issue is that's with respect to her hearing. That's what makes it seem so sus, right? Like, why is it that you're using Cash App all the time, but for Wade, why wouldn't you document it by sending it through Cash App? And if you're going to tell me something stupid like he didn't have the app, it takes all of 3 minutes to do that, to install the app. I know, I installed the app. It's not a very complicated thing to do. It's not very complicated at all. So if she's using Cash App to give money, if someone told me, hey, Joe, I want to send you $1,000, but I need to send it through this app, that app, whatever. I'd be like, oh, okay, let me put it on my phone. That's what you would do. That's what anyone would do. $1,000. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes on my phone just putting it into my phone so this way it ends up in my bank account. Why wouldn't you do that? Who wouldn't do that? So, yeah, I agree with you. The fact that she's using Cash App all the time. She stupidly admitted that without realizing how stupid this sounds. Or someone, I don't remember if it was he or she, but there was definitely testimony at the hearing that she's using Cash App to pay people and chose not to use it for him. Yeah, that makes this, for purposes of this hearing, it makes it very sus. But I don't think that means that she's committed a crime with respect to how she handled her election financing. I also want to point out that the only thing that this judge cares about, the only issue, and he weeded through the motions, and the only issue he cared about at all, was whether it was motivated that she was trying to generate money for herself and or Wade. And what evidence that we have that Wade spending money on her is in her own personal interest. That's the only issue he cared about. So election finance issues, and the reason, and there is some logic to that. The reason there's some logic to that is because you have to tie it home. He cares about this case. Why is there a problem with this case? It's not his job. I don't think he looks at it as his job or duty to see, is she corrupt in general? Because that's not about this case. Because you have to tie that corruption to this case if you're going to say that she should be removed from this case. So that being the point, that's why that's all he cared about, I would imagine. I mean, he didn't really express why it is that he limited there, but that's the most logical way of reading it, of him trying to be fair in his assessment here. And I know a lot of you probably think that he's not being fair, but I will point this out. Some judges who were really deep in the tank wouldn't have had this hearing at all. So the fact that he's having any hearing at all, that he didn't just say, no, this is all just speculation and stuff like that, and I'm satisfied that the DA is honoring her obligations as a district attorney, and dismiss the entire thing at that point, is indicative of someone who, at least on some level, has an effort of trying to be fair. It's a very encouraging thing with respect to the balance of this prosecution, as far as being a reflection of Judge McAfee. Now, he might end up coming out in favor of the state on this issue and leaving her there, and we might be frustrated with that. I'm simply saying he's not someone who's knee-jerk protecting them the way a Judge Ingraham would have. Judge Ingraham, I don't believe, would have had this hearing that Judge McAfee held for 2 days. And we're looking for a third day, and we still don't know when that third day is going to be. So they were saying either at the end of this week or the start of next week. So I don't know when it is. As soon as I learn of it, I'm going to be notifying you, and I do intend to be streaming it. So now when we're looking at her general issues as district attorney, general crimes she's committed that are not specifically tied to the charges against Trump and his co-defendants in the Georgia RICO case, this judge is not worrying about that. Now, whether she might get removed for other reasons because of those general issues, that's possible. But as far as it having an impact on Judge McAfee, I don't think it's going to have any impact on him. For me, it's the pause in there right after she says it, like she admitted something she didn't want to. Her testimony to that point was very fluent. She sounded like she was justified when she talked about losing $50K of her own money. Let me see that pause. I didn't really. Let's watch it. Let's watch it one more time here.
Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you I just have cash in my house, I don't have as much today.
Like when she said to tell you, there was a little bit of a pause there. Like it sort of like realized that, what did I just say? They don't have 100% proof of catching her red-handed, right? The appearance of conflict of interest is enough to disqualify her, correct? That is what they say. Yeah, that is what the law is supposed to be. And I think that's why he's struggling. Because he's like, how can I come up with an answer to say that there's not an appearance of conflict? Like, how do I actually come to a conclusion like that? I think he's going to really struggle to say that there's no appearance of conflict. Scale 1 to 10, Fanny DQ chances. I don't like answering that. I'll give you an answer, and then if I said it's the reason I don't like those questions, because if I said 90% chance, and then the 10% is going to happen sometimes, I think it's toss a coin at this point. It's toss a coin. Anyway, so I apologize for getting sidetracked from the from this thing. The other thing I want to talk about is last night. Before I get back to the other thing I want to talk about is last night I weighed in with my thoughts about the lawsuit between George Santos and suing Jimmy Kimmel, and I expressed some thoughts on it. And I actually saw someone had made a comment which I thought was a very insightful comment, and made me second guess, like maybe I got something wrong there. And I actually spoke to Kurt about the complaint, and I have an updated perspective on it, where at the end, I don't think I was actually ended up being wrong, but the way I got there was wrong. I actually was thinking about making like a thumbnail of like me just saying, I was wrong. But yeah, I'll probably talk about it in locals tomorrow. Special COVID rules for withdrawal of 401ks funds did not apply to Fannie. Thus, there is criminal investigation into her in Georgia. Oh, she didn't have that exception to allow her to do it. Well, yeah. If she's criminally charged, that can affect all her cases. Not enough bad can happen to that woman to satisfy me. Not that I wish for anyone to visit it upon her, but yeah, for the state to investigate her and charge her would be wonderful.
Laura, look at all these people waiting outside. It is 7:54 in the morning, but this city has planned for the country.
I don't care.
Welcome back to Greenville, South Carolina, where folks have been waiting since very, very early this morning to see former President Donald Trump. Now, Mr. President, one of the questions we've been hearing from voters here is, how do you plan to deport the millions of people? I mean, there's probably 12, 13 million people under Biden alone that have come here. And how will it work?
It's going to work that we get the bad ones out first. They're coming in from prisons. They're coming in from jails and mental institutions.
How will you find them?
We're going to find them through local police. Look, the local police, they're so phenomenal. I love them. They love me. I think I have 97% support. They know everything. They know the first names. They know everything. And it's a new category. I don't know if you've heard this, but I came up with this one: migrant crime. There's crime, there's violent crime, there's migrant crime. We have a new category of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's going to be worse than any other form of crime. You look at New York City, what's going on where they attack police. They want to fight police officers. Our criminals don't even do that so much, okay? I've never seen, they're having fistfights with the police officers in the middle of the street. And we have to do something about it. These are tough people. Don't forget, they're not sending their finest. I know all the leaders of the South American.
Well, they really hit you when you said that in 2015. You said they're sending it.
Matter.
And,
yeah.
and now, all these years later.
Everything turned out to be right.
Well, CBC is telling us that.
Unfortunately.
Customs and Border Patrol announced yesterday that just in 3 days, 452 Chinese nationals have been apprehended by Border Patrol. And Mr. President, 20,000 Chinese have entered since October.
Yep.
Okay, does this concern you more than other immigrant groups?
Why would that concern us more? What do you mean? Because they happen to be from like across the globe, the other side of the globe, and somehow managed to be trekking up through Central America into our country. Somehow 20,000 of them managed to get out of China for the purposes of coming here. I don't know that Xi is just letting people just waltz across his border all the time, but we're letting them waltz across ours.
Probably it would, because it's China, and maybe what are they building an army in between? It was 29,000 people in the last year. Think of it, 29,000 people, and most of those people were young, male, fighting age, okay? So
what's going on?
Look, you want to give the benefit of the doubt, but China was number one. And you look at Yemen, now they're coming in with bombing. Here we go again with this guy bombing everything, gets no respect. He bombs and bombs and bombing Yemen.
Well, they're bombing us.
We have a lot of Yemenis are coming into our country. We have people coming in from everywhere. They're coming in from the Congo. They interviewed some people last night Where are you from? Congo. Where did you live? Prison. They're emptying out their prisons into
What's
our
the first thing you will do if you become president again on the border? I know that's going to be your first
There's
act.
two things I'm going to do. Number one is drill, baby, drill. And the other thing, equal, is we're going to, look, I had the safest
Drill, baby,
border
drill.
in the history of our country, recorded history, because I can't tell you about 1,000 years ago, but recorded history of the border by far. We had it down pat between guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd and unbelievable people that you have on your show. We had a great, all Biden had to do is stay at the beach. You know, he goes to the beach. Somebody said he looks great in a bathing suit. So he goes to the beach. If he went to the beach.
By the way, I'm sure when fake news heard him say that, they're like, Trump's lying again. There was no American country 1,000 years ago, other than Native Americans living here. America was not a country. This liar saying that he doesn't know about crime statistics from 1,000 years ago.
And didn't do it, but he canceled everything. Remain in Mexico, catch and release. We have catch and release, but we had release in Mexico.
Why were you against the House, against the Senate border deal, the bipartisan border?
Well, they allow 5,000 people a week, but a lot of people took it as 5,000 people a day. They said 5,000 people a week, and you read it, and it says 5,000 people a day. Number one, that, but it also made it much better for the opposing side.
Regularized, managed.
Was that really true? I didn't hear about this. I didn't know about that. What's your source? What's your source? I want to know that that's statistically true.
The crisis
You couldn't manage it. It was so complex. You're talking about, first of all, if you want to close the border, you're president. I didn't have any legislation. I had people opposed to me very strongly, including Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi. That was a little triumvirate. And what I did after a year, I said, you know what, these people, I took the money out. We built 571 miles of border wall, and that's what made our border so good. Did another thing. I got 28,000 soldiers from Mexico. I sent to the president of Mexico, who I really like a lot. I think he's a terrific guy. He's a socialist, but a terrific guy. And he's fantastic, actually, in a lot of ways. I said, we need 28,000 soldiers to guard our border. He said, you got to be kidding.
Well,
I ended up getting free of charge 28,000. We had the safest border we've ever had. Now we have the most unsafe. We have the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border of any country anywhere in the world that's been like
Biden has announced, well, they've hinted that he's going to come out with a border executive order on the border to clamp down on illegal immigration before the State of the Union message. I thought he said he didn't have the executive authority.
So I do believe that he's baked in. I don't think he can ever even come close unless people are really stupid, which they're not. The public is much smarter than the politicians. He's not going to be able to change. He's not going to be able to change it. He's destroyed our country. This guy is destroying our country.
Speaking of that, how are you going to make sure that mail-in ballots and voter fraud, which we heard from a lot of people in line, was an issue front and center? They're very concerned about mail-in voting. So forget the past. What are you going to do to make sure?
I just want to point this out. Yeah, now for the next 8 months, and as soon as elections are over, we know exactly what's going to happen. So the fact that this is election year policies that we see. We're going to see clamping at the border. We're going to see lower oil prices. We're going to see all these different things that they're going to desperately try to make the country not look terrible for 8 months, so they can get 4 years of more terrible, awful policies. So don't give me your stupid garbage here. More oil being produced here with Biden and Trump. Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop acting ignorant.
Sure we don't have problems going forward?
If you have mail-in voting, you automatically have fraud. If you have
okay, well, there's mail-in voting in Florida,
That's
and you
right.
won huge.
That's right. If you have it, you're going to have fraud.
But you won.
Because you don't have any. When you go into a voting place, like you go into one in a properly run state, They look at you, you give voter ID, you give all sorts of identification. I mean, it would be very hard to cheat in a mass scale. When you send out millions, like California, I think they sent out 36 million ballots. They don't have a voting booth in the whole place. And then millions of ballots come back. Nobody knows where they're coming from.
Right, but what are you going to do about it?
The way you win is by swamping them. The way you win is by swamping them. You got to have, and we're going to swamp. I'll tell you what.
What does that mean?
What
does that mean?
In the first election,
what does that mean? I want to know what that means, swamping them.
Better in the second.
We have interesting news coming out of New York, by the way, the New York poll that just came out, which we're going to get to. But
I want to correct this also, since I called her out. I don't think she's a troll. I don't think she's a troll at all. I think that she's been twisted by mainstream media. So I don't think she's a troll. I think that she swallows a lot of garbage as long as it's being told to her by the puppet masters. That's what I think. So, yeah. But I don't think she's a troll. Trolling is someone who's like, who is just trying to like poke for the sake of poking. I don't think that's what she does.
Mr. President, Kelly is in the audience and has a question about foreign aid. Kelly.
How you doing, Mr. President?
Hi, Kelly.
One of the many great things you did in your first term was put America first. One of the many, many great things you did. That isn't the case in the last few years, which is evident with the unnecessary billions of dollars in foreign aid we have given specifically to Ukraine. So what is going to be the solution to fix all of that spending?
Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate it. I like that question. I like this guy. I can tell. But he's a man of common sense. I'm a man of common sense. You know, they say you're conservative, you're liberal, you're this, you're that. No, we're people of common sense. We need borders. We don't want to give foreign aid to countries that hate us. I mean, we're giving foreign aid to countries that hate us. If you look at the numbers in terms of the billions and even trillions of dollars that we give to foreign aid, and yet we don't protect our own border. We don't protect our own military.
That's interesting.
We have the greatest, you know, I knocked out ISIS. Everyone said it would take 4 years. It took me 3 months to knock out, totally decimate ISIS. We took out Soleimani. We took out al-Baghdadi. We did a job like nobody's ever done.
So you wouldn't be in favor of giving $60 billion more for Ukraine? Because they said without that money, Ukraine will definitely lose the war, which would then empower Vladimir Putin.
Definitely lose the war, as if there's any other alternative outcome here. As if giving them another $500 billion is going to save their asses. It's such a joke. It's such a joke. And what would winning the war look like? What do you anticipate? They can't even tell us what that would look like. So this lie about Ukraine is just so aggravating.
And endanger our allies.
And I guess the thing that bothers me most, it would have never happened.
I don't think that's a real answer. The reason, and I'm just calling it like I see it. The reason I don't think it's a real answer is because we got 75 million votes in 2020. That was swamping. That was swamping. I don't think people were staying home. So we need better answers than just swamping. I don't think swamping is enough. I think election integrity demands for election integrity. But unfortunately, there's nothing he can say about that. That has to happen on more of a local level. But yeah, I don't think that that's 75 million votes is a lot of friggin' votes. He's gotten a heck of a lot more votes than Obama ever got in his life. In all of Obama's elections combined, he hasn't gotten as many votes as Trump has gotten. I'm talking about even with senator. You throw those in there, I don't think he's gotten as many as Trump has gotten. I haven't done the numbers, but I'm fairly certain. One of my friends is exactly like Linda. To this day, he believes Trump is a Russian puppet and the Mueller investigation was hamstrung. These people are real and walk among us. Yeah. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's saying things I don't really believe. I think it's looking at things in a twisted sort of way. Swamping is interesting given swamp connotation. Yeah, that's interesting.
Happened if I were president.
Well, it did happen. So what are you going to do about it?
But it would have never happened. Putin would have never done it for two reasons. Number one, I said, don't do it. He would never have done it. And the other reason was oil prices were low. At $40 a barrel, it doesn't work.
What would you
At
do now?
$100 a barrel, he made a fortune during this war. So what I would do is, first thing I get on the phone is with the European nations who are in for 25% of what we're in. We're in for over $200 billion. They're in for $35 billion.
We spent about $100 billion so far, but it will be 160.
It's a difference of $150 billion. They've got to start paying up. You know, it affects them much more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between us. They don't have that ocean in between. They have to start paying up. And you know why they haven't paid? Because nobody asked them. Biden doesn't call. Does Biden lie awake at night, sleeping, cursing? He turns for another reason, not for the reason we're talking about. Sweating, saying, we got to
Stains.
get more. We've got to get them to.
I said it. I said it. Take it however you want. You never want the steel Dems to just stop the count. Manufacturers make votes they need to win. So what stopped them from doing in 2024 what they did in 2020? Like I said, transparency. We need transparency of election integrity. That's what we need. It's the only way. It's the only way to fix this. The only way to fix it. Well, the other thing is that we're far more wise to the tactics that were used. Like in 2020, we were naive. 2024, we're far more wise. It's much more difficult when people are more wise to it. That it's like, you know, that's the difference.
To pay up because there's $150 billion difference. I feel very bad. Remember this. You're really up against a war machine in Russia. Russia, what they do? They defeated Hitler. They defeated Napoleon. You know, they're a war machine. They're a much bigger country. Orban, who I think is a fantastic guy. A lot of people don't like him because he's a little bit on the tough side. He is the prime minister of Hungary. And he said, and he came out very strongly, they asked him, what's going on? The whole world is collapsing. He said, if the United States elects Donald Trump, it'll all end. Everybody was afraid of Donald Trump. It'll all end. And I believe that's true.
Nancy, your
Victor Orban.
Your very good friend, Nancy Pelosi, was on MSNBC earlier today with your other good friends, accusing you of something which took my breath away. Watch.
What does he have on Donald Trump that he has to constantly be catering to Putin, telling Putin, go into these countries, NATO countries?
What are you talking about? This is the stupidest thing in the world. It's like, I don't know. How sloshed is she? How sloshed is she? I don't. And Jen Psaki just nodding. Yeah, Putin must have something on it. What are you talking about? If Putin had something on him, he wouldn't have been intimidated from invading Ukraine back in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Why didn't we see him do anything there? You're so stupid in thinking that he's under Putin's thumb rather than recognizing it for being exactly the opposite way.
I think it's probably financial.
But Trump, part of the reason Trump has him under his thumb is because he doesn't say I have him under my thumb. That's and they know it. They know it. It's this is like they use the fact that he has to be diplomatic in how he deals with Putin to be effective with him, to pretend that this is some sort of cahoots that's happening there. But you ask yourself this: if you're Putin, who would you rather see as leading the United States, Biden or Trump? Biden with his ineffective aid to Ukraine and basically being wishy-washy loser who's like an embarrassment on the world stage, or Trump, who you're actually afraid might bomb the Kremlin? Who would you rather have? So I'm going to tell you this: Russia is interfering with our elections for the purposes of keeping Trump out of office. That's what we're dealing with. Russia, that Trump is fighting against Russia because Russia is trying to rig our elections to keep Biden in power. There you go.
Financial.
Your response. She said you're going to abandon NATO and Putin has something on you.
So I know the real Nancy Pelosi. She's highly overrated. Let me just tell you about Nancy. I went in. It's all sound bites. You know, with them, it's all misinformation. Everything is dis and mis. Little difference. Dis and misinformation. I went in, got in. and I stopped Nord Stream 2. Most people don't know what that's the Russian pipeline. The most important economic deal, plus, I call it economic plus, much more than economic, ever. I stopped it. I told Germany, you're not having it. I told all of Europe, you're not having it. Anybody that wants to have it, they're not dealing with you. I ended it. That's the biggest deal ever in the history of Russia. They're going to supply Europe with oil and gas. I ended it. Biden comes in, and he vetoed what I had done. It was done. Nord Stream 2 was done, and he approved it. But he ended the Keystone pipeline, which is our pipeline, which should have been approved.
Yeah.
When people say that about Russia, and Putin would even say to me...
That's how you know that even the left believes climate is a hoax. We have to virtue signal at home, but everyone else can do whatever the hell they want.
He said, you treat us very bad. I had sanctions on Russia that nobody's ever put there before. In fact, Biden took them off. It's just misinformation. Anybody that walked in and ended, and remember this, Putin took land from every president of our last 5, except for one, me. Now he's going for the big one. He's going for all of Ukraine.
No.
He's going for all of Ukraine, not this a little piece.
Now,
he's going for all, and that's under Biden.
People around the world are expressing outrage over the death of Alexei Navalny, of course, in a horrific Russian prison. You posted on Truth Social about it. You said that his death made you more aware of the political circumstances here at home.
It's happening here.
Specifically your rivals. I want to give you the chance to expand on that, because obviously your opponents have used that to say, again, pro-Putin, don't care about human rights or freedom, the freedom movement. And so what does that mean when you said it made you more aware of your circumstances here?
Navalny is a very sad situation, and he's very brave. He was a very brave guy because he went back. He could have stayed away. And frankly, probably would have been a lot better off staying away and talking from outside of the country as opposed to having to go back in, because people thought that could happen, and it did happen. And it's a horrible thing. But it's happening in our country, too. We are turning into a communist country in many ways. And if you look at it, I'm the leading candidate. I got indicted. I never heard of being indicted before. I got indicted 4 times. I have 8 or 9 trials, all because of the fact that and you know this, all because of the fact that I'm in politics. They indicted me on things that are so ridiculous. Fanny in Atlanta.
We'll get into that. We're going to get into that in a moment. But we're going to get into my favorite DA in a moment. But do you see yourself as a potential political?
Of course he prefers Biden. Of course he does. He's not just an old school politician. He's a weak old school politician. He's an incompetent old school politician. He's the most manipulatable individual imaginable. Of course he prefers Biden. I wasn't just making stuff up. Russia rigs our elections, and they certainly prefer Biden in power. So you tell me why it is that that's what should be our concern. We should be concerned that Russia's going to rig our elections and help keep Biden in power. There you go. That's what we need.
Prisoner in the United States, because that's their goal, is to put you in jail behind your bars, right, for the rest of your life.
If I were losing in the polls, they wouldn't even be talking about me, and I wouldn't have had any legal fees.
If you had retired from politics, would all these cases...
If I were out, I think, although they hate me so much, I think if I got out there still, let's pursue this guy. We can't stand this guy. Look, I won an election that wasn't supposed to be winnable. I then did much better the second time. I won't get into it, but I did because of Fox. But I did a much better job the second time. We got millions and millions of more votes the second time. And now we're doing much better than we did the second time and the first time, almost put together.
Are you a potential political prisoner, sir?
Well, I think because of the fact that I'm doing so well, that I'm beating Biden at a level that they've never seen before. This is not supposed to happen. You know, it's much easier for a Democrat to run. Much easier than
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We have a lot more on this and on this topic, and a lot more Fani Willis and some of the other legal challenges the president faces. Stay with us.
I'm sure he's asking me whether I think Nathan and Fanny, one of them what the other actually loved. I have no idea. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I don't know. Who the heck is
this? Is a Fox, the body of 11-year-old Audrey Day of last to the Ingraham.
All right, Mr. President, the crowd's going crazy here, but during this campaign, a huge amount of your time has been spent in court, in the courtroom in New York and so forth. Now, in this New York civil fraud case, this Judge Arthur Ingraham ruled against you for almost $500 million plus interest that runs every day. When I first read this, like $87,000 a day. How would you put up that kind of money? Because you have a bond to put up. Even if you appeal, you got to put up escrow money.
Interest rates in New York for judgment interest rates, which every state has their own, sets their own judgment interest rate, which means that from the date a judgment is entered, it starts accruing at a rate of 9% per day. Now, I'm not sure if judgment was technically entered yet. I know the decision was entered, but that's not considered entry of judgment under New York law. I don't know if the judgment itself was entered. That's done by the clerk of the court after the decision is issued, saying awarding the state $450 million. Then it usually takes a day or two, but the bigger the judgment, the longer it takes. So it's probably been entered by now. It accrues in New York at a rate of 9% per year. It's one of the highest interest rates in the entire country. Don't ask me how I know that, but I do know that. 9% per year. You can get fat sitting on a judgment in New York. 9%. Not compounded, though. So it's not like they compound the stuff. They just calculate 9% from the date of entry. So, yeah.
Honey, that's it's a lot of dough.
It is a form of Navalny. It is a form of communism or fascism. The guy's a nut job. I've known this for a long time, and I've said it openly. No jury, no anything. Letitia James is horrible attorney general in New York, campaigned on I will get Trump, I will get Trump. We went through a trial. It turned out we're totally innocent on everything. And he fined me $355 million plus interest and other things. 355. And what we did, in fact, my financial statements were conservative. Everybody made money. There was no victim. The bank gets up and says, we love this guy. I mean, they
You
love
paid
Trump.
back the loans.
100%. No defaults, no anything. The bank asked me to, banks lend money. That's how they make money. They asked me, would I borrow some money? They asked me. I didn't need the money. I had my cash. And what happens is this guy ruled that I was guilty before the trial started. He didn't even know anything about it. He ruled that a house in Florida called Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million when it's worth from 50 to 100 times that.
Would you give up one of your properties to settle this?
Look, we have, I wrote this out because it was so great. I just looked at it.
I should do a whole video about New York's efforts to execute this judgment against Trump. I should probably do that, walking you through what steps they can take to try and execute on this judgment against Trump. So there are steps they can take to begin executing on it. Now they're talking about normally if you want to put a freeze while you're appealing it, you can put up a bond. They're saying he could put up a bond of 10%. Normally, you have to put up a bond of the entire judgment amount, which is a crazy high amount for him to put up. He's saying 355. He probably knows his own personal number. I think collectively it's like 450, meaning that there was judgments entered against Weisselberg for millions of dollars, and Eric Trump and Don Jr. And so there was multiple, and McConney. All of them were hit with massive judgments, and there could be. So I'm not sure whether he's referring to himself personally, also some against the Trump organization. It's not so simple for them to execute this judgment. And one of the things I was pointing out when this judgment was entered is that he's a sufficiently savvy businessman. I am positive that each of his buildings that he owns, Trump Tower, etc., are all owned by asset holding companies. This is something that every New York businessman does. In fact, even they even do it for like their homes frequently. They'll set up a shell corporation and they'll be like, this corporation has one asset, and that asset is the property. And that's it. So the asset itself, so now And each of them, they tend to name it the address of the property. So if he owns 40 Wall Street, they would say that he would have a company called 40 Wall Street Holding LLC. And that's what the deed will be held in that name, and he'll be the owner of that, or him not being the owner of it, some other company of his being the one that owns it. You can have multiple layers. You can have infinite number of levels. There could be 100 levels of, and that 40, I just made up the name 40 Wall Street Holding LLC, and that would be held by Asset Management Company LLC, and asset management company might hold 2 properties, and then another one which owns asset management properties. You build layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of these different LLCs. And then, so now you have a judgment against Donald Trump individually and Trump organization. You can't just go after the asset that's held by 40 Wall Street LLC Holding, 40 Wall Street Holding LLC. You can't just go after that. It doesn't have to be LLC. It could be Inc. Whatever. LLC is limited liability company as opposed to corporation. But for the purposes of this conversation, there's really little distinction. Although it is a little bit easier to pierce an LLC, especially if it's not being held by a board or something like that. But I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into the minutia about corporate law. But I do want to point out to you, Letitia James, if it were held by a judgment creditor, anyone who's named on this judgment is called a judgment debtor. So if any of these properties were held by a judgment debtor, in theory, the state of New York could lock down the buildings that are owned by that judgment debtor. But these different corporations are not considered the same individual. So they're not judgment debtors. So she can't just say, oh, because you own a company that owns 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 this building, that we are now going to seize the building. Because they're each considered different steps that New York would have to pierce the corporate veil. And the more layers there are, the more veils that need to be pierced. Now, she would probably go back to Judge Engelron, who's going to be very generous in trying to make it quick and easy for her to pierce the corporate veil. But and you can theoretically seize incoming revenue to a judgment debtor. So if there are payment streams, if any of these judgment debtors own property, you can seize the revenue before it gets to him. You can issue a subpoena in order to the tenants who are using these properties that you must hereby pay your rent to me, the judgment creditor, in this case, the state of New York. So in theory, you can seize the building itself. You would need to have a court order to do that, to seize property like that and hold the property off for auction. But that's a very complicated process, which usually takes a couple of years, not something that happens instantly. It probably all would come back to Judge Engelron, especially if he insinuated himself into the position here. So it's not something that she'd be able to do quickly. Now, she might get expedited review on all of this because she's Letitia James and because the judgment debtor here is Donald Trump. She could theoretically do that. Those are some of the steps that she could take if she was interested in trying to seize his properties. Now, in theory, he could put up a bond, and what I read is that he could put up a bond of 10%, which would be like $35 million or so, that he would actually have to shell out $35 million to a bonding company, and that would get held by the court pending the appeal. So in the event that we would basically try to assess is how much can we reasonably anticipate that New York would sufficiently grab during this time that they are being held in abeyance. You want to have the state hold off on executing its judgment. Well, how much can we anticipate they would be able to successfully grab during that time? And if you put that money into a bonding company or deposit it with the court, which would probably be a more foolish move because getting it back from the court could be a pain in the neck as well. So if you put that into a bonding company, which you would want to use a very reliable bonding company when you're talking about that kind of money. Make sure they don't run off with your $35 million, because let's face it, there's 35 million reasons they might decide to close shop and say, hey, this is, we just got 35 million. But if you're going to put 35 million in with some third party, in that case, now the calculation is based on, okay, now the state of New York is withheld from being able to execute the judgment. So any of the steps that they would take to go after and execute on this judgment are stopped, put a clamp on it that they can't do anything now while this appeal is pending. And in the event that he wins on the appeal, that he would get that money back. Now, theoretically, the truth is maybe it would make more sense to put it in the court. I need to think that through. I want to reassess that in my own brain. There are upsides to put in the court. You get the money, you get all the money back if you put it in the court, as opposed to giving it to a bonding company, which normally is going to keep at least 10% of the money that you put there. So you're sort of sacrificing $3.5 million by putting it in a bonding company. And you do have to worry that a bonding company would just close up shop and just take your money. Unless people you really know and trust. It's a very well-established bonding company. I don't know. That I'd have to have a long talk with a client about if he was interested in forestalling them. Or you could just let her execute on whatever she gets. In theory, you could do that. Say, go ahead, try to find money. Go ahead, try to find it. And she would be taking legal action to try and get orders that enable her to pierce the corporate veil to go after various assets, and while you just have your appeal that's ongoing. These are the different calculations that he's dealing with right now behind the scenes. He must be dealing with them because I'm sure Letitia James is aggressively trying to execute on this judgment right now. Is it possible to clear out the corruption in New York? Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Seems like a lengthy process. Truth Social is going public. Trump is going to make millions. Yeah, but it's not going to be in his name. That's what I'm saying. None of this is going to be in his name.
If people call up, all of your friends, the lawyers call up, they say, it's the most egregious punishment anybody's ever seen. Tim Scott knows that. He sees it. The Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. That's the Eighth Amendment. Excessive fines.
This is a state court
I have a fine.
Yeah.
I did business with a bank and insurance companies that loved me. They still do business with me. They wouldn't do business with.
But you have the practical. You're a practical man. You have a practical question, which I thought about a lot last night because it's such a huge amount of money. You have to decide whether you're going to put up that bond in escrow to appeal. Are you going to do that? And where are you going to get the money?
I'll tell you what we're going to do. Number one, we'll have a lot of cash, but that doesn't mean he can take it. I mean, you know what he did? I think he looked at my cash and he said, well, we'll take all of his cash. This is all coming out of the White House. This is everything that you see, whether it's that one or the DA. You know, in the DA's office, in Bragg's office, he has his top people from the DOJ working in the district attorney's office in New York. Nobody knows that. Everything is coming out. This is all election interference. They're trying to damage me so they can win another election. They want to do.
Do you ever just say to yourself, you know, I'm done. This is what they. Why? A lot of people would have said, I'm going to come out. Why are you staying in this?
I can't because I want to make America great again. It's not great right now, and we can do that. We can do that. Laura, we can do it. We can get it fixed. It's harder now. It would have been so much easier if we just finished off that. Everything would have been so perfect. We had the border set. Everything was set to rock and roll. We had no.
So you feel like you have an obligation to America because it's all coming in on you now.
If I didn't,
criminal to civil to the money.
No, I got everything. I've become an expert at law. If I didn't run, I wouldn't have any of these lawsuits. You know that. None of them. They would have gone on to the next. And look, Nikki has no chance. But if she ever did, they would go after her the same way. These are vicious people. These are vicious, sick people. They're sick. And this judge is sick. He got overturned on this case so far, overturned by the appellate division 4 times already on this case.
Do you expect the Supreme Court's going to overturn this? You're going to have to preserve your federal claim here below. So you're going to have to say, we have a constitutional claim here against this excessive fine. And there are constitutional hurdles you're going to have to cross. Are you going to expect the Supreme Court would interfere in a state court decision?
I've never seen such support on a decision before. Truckers, everybody, they're saying, we're not going to deal in New York. People are leaving New York. I've never seen support like this. I think there's a lot of pressure on the court system of New York.
Personally, I think there's zero chance that the Supreme Court takes it up. I don't think they want it. I shouldn't say zero, less than 1% chance. And that's even if you try to round up, meaning less than 0.5% of a chance that they'll take this case.
New York to do what's right. You borrow a small amount of money by comparison, you pay it back. The bank is in love with you. And by the way, this is a time, and a lot of the audience doesn't know, banks are doing very badly with commercial loans. They're not getting their money back. They're in default, everything. This was a perfect loan. I did a favor to this bank.
That's why I changed it.
I paid it back. It was already done.
That's why I changed it.
Just 1 second. I pay it back. And then this guy uses this. It was just a weapon. They come after me and they charge me many times the money that you're talking about. $355
I want to say this.
Fine.
I want to say this on this. Okay. Yes. Tim's did say that. They're not going to say, because they're setting a general parameter. They're setting a general parameter. But they're not going to say that this individual judgment was what is excessive. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think there's almost no chance. Because this is not something, while it's something that the country is following, they will look at it as a one-off situation where they're being called in to basically decide whether they're going to stand with Trump or not. Which, I don't know that I could rely on the Supreme Court, because despite the fact that he appointed 3 of them to Supreme Court, 2 of the 3 he appointed are very unreliable. And B, I think that they feel as if this would be a political involvement. The feeling I get from this court is, might they pick it up? Yeah. But they're not going to repeat this. So they have to be saying this is excessive. All right. It's not like there's a rule. It's not like that's something that they feel is going to be precedential. You have to ask yourself, what is the precedent that they would be setting? That $350 million is too much? That you have to cap it? Like it sort of almost feels like it's a judicial legislation type of thing that they're being asked to do. Do I think it's unfair, egregious, like an embarrassment to New York law? I've already railed against it to that effect, and I don't expect to ever change my opinion on that. And I'm certainly not changing it now. And like I said, I don't think that I'll ever change my opinion on it. It's just not the sort of thing the Supreme Court is going to tend to pick up. It just isn't. An issue of presidential immunity. Think about this, okay? The issue of presidential immunity, that is something that will affect every president. Do you have immunity for anything that is in the ambit of what is considered part of your presidential duties? That's a defining statement as to how things work for the president, which will apply to every president going forward. The issue as to whether or not Trump specifically should be paying $350 million in this one case here is not. That's not something we're going to see again. And I know that many of you are saying, well, we'll see him get hit again, or other Republicans will get hit again by corrupt people. Okay. Now you're talking about more of a rule that they would have to be applying, and that rule is already in Tim's. So that's why I'm doubtful about it. Who's the greatest black representative? Fannie Letitia, Tiffany Henyard, or Karine? Tiffany Henyard. Oh my! I think I'm going to make a prediction about Tiffany Henyard. Within 3 years, that woman will be in prison. Within 3 years, Tiffany Henyard will be in prison. I don't see how she's going to stay out of prison. That's my prediction. Within 3 years, she will be in prison. Long before our next election, under the next administration, she will be in prison.
For a perfect loan, where the bank was happy, the insurance companies, everybody's happy. And even he, in his statement, He said Trump did nothing wrong.
Said he didn't have any contrition. But Mr. President, Chandra in the audience has a question. Chandra.
Mr. President, our country is so divided right now. I know you have suffered endless attacks, no doubt, but how can you assure independent and undecided voters that your focus as president will be on improving the state of our country and not settling those old scores?
It's an interesting question, I must say. Look, I did it before. We had a great 4 years, especially before that very last part where COVID came in, and we did a great job there. We've been given great marks on the economy and on the military and on foreign affairs, but never got the credit we should have gotten in that. We did something amazing, and the stock market was higher in the end. But just before the China, I call it the China virus because I like to be accurate, came onto our shores, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world, even going up to the end. But this period of time, and it was success. Successful is the word I'm using to answer your question. We had such success in history. Some of your favorite pollsters like McLaughlin and Fabrizio, I met them the day before I heard the word COVID or pandemic, the day before. And we were talking about the next election coming up. They said, sir, if Abraham Lincoln and George Washington came back from the dead, they couldn't beat you. We had the greatest economy ever. And the people, let's call them on the left and far left, were calling me. We want to get together. I've never seen anything like it. I said, do you believe this? Everybody was happy. African American, Asian American, Hispanic American.
We're going to get into that because of your polls on that.
When you look at the poll numbers today with African American, Hispanic American, we're doing better than any.
But the question about score settling, a lot of women, a lot of women voters, they don't like the name calling, they don't like the score settling. They love your policies, and they just want Trump's policies, maybe not so much of the other stuff. So I think that's what the question, well, no, if you don't mind my asking, I think that's what she's getting.
Well, but also you want to say, how do you get together? We're going to get together through success. When the country was at a level that we had the best employment numbers in history, everything was good. And this country was coming together. Then we got hit with COVID, but this country came together. I don't care about the revenge thing. I know they usually use the word revenge. Will there be revenge? My revenge will be success.
That is the perfect answer. It took him too long to get there. He spent far too long trying to show his success in the past and using it as a jumping off point. That's just what Trump does, though. So, but that is the perfect. Those last, my revenge will be success. Those 6 words. That's the answer. My revenge will be success. That's the best answer possible. It's a perfect answer. Perfect answer there. Hey Joe, did you see the recent O'Keefe release on the IRS? I did not see that. No. Would love to hear your perspective one day. Crazy times indeed. I'm going to try and check it out. Thank you for calling to my attention, Brittany. I did not see that. Can the bank sue Judge Ingraham and New York for denying them future profits by banning Trump from getting loans in the state? His ruling hurts them financially too, damages interest for every day of ban. There is no cause of action there against them. No, we cannot. It's an interesting question, but no, there's no cause of action to go after the state that their policies or decisions ended up hurting you, especially you, even if there were such a thing. How would you prove that it was this decision and not whatever, the trucker's reaction or something unrelated to Trump altogether, which caused it? Some restaurant closing down, which is what caused everything. You can't, to show the nexus to Engoron would be impossible. And you and I can understand it intuitively, but from a legal perspective, it's a very, very thin nexus, and there's no cause of action to go after the state for any of its policies, unless they're unconstitutional. But you get harmed by the state. First of all, it's not the state that's doing it. This is the judiciary of New York rather than the executive branch. So the state is referenced to the executive branch or the legislative branch, but never the judiciary branch. And there's no cause of action. And if there was a cause of action, showing the nexus here would be very difficult, if not impossible. So I don't foresee that. Interesting question, though, because I do think that this is going to hurt them. I think this decision will hurt them. I just don't think that there's any relief he can get.
Robert Hur, the special prosecutor in the Biden classified documents case. I don't know if you know this, but he's set to testify on Capitol Hill on March 12th. What is one question you're hoping the Republicans or someone who has some honesty up there will ask Mr. Hur? And should Biden have been charged in the classified documents case?
Well, nobody else has been over the years because, you know, Hillary took a lot. And
I was unaware of that Hur's going to be called testify. That's something I would cover. That's something I would live stream. Hur's testimony, where he's going to be pressured into saying he's not really stupid, he's not really cognitively deficient, and yet if he says that, then why don't you charge him? And how's the excuse recommending that he be charged? That I would cover. I think that'd be interesting. Even though I think all those congressional hearings are dog and pony shows, I think his responses would probably be interesting.
Bill took a lot. Bill took him out in his socks. They call it the Sox case, which he won with a very tough judge, which he won. Bush took him. Everybody, Reagan took him out. Everybody took him out. It only became a big subject when I took things out. The difference is I had what's called the Presidential Records Act. I was allowed to do what I did. Absolutely allowed. That's why they passed the act in 1978. They passed the Presidential Records Act. But you can only use it or be there if you're president. Biden wasn't president. He was.
Why didn't you just hand him over when they were requested, though? I mean, they requested him. You could have just handed him over. It probably saved yourself a lot of trouble.
First of all, I didn't have to hand him over. But second of all, I would have done that. We were talking, and then all of a sudden they raided Mar-a-Lago. Do you remember? They said, could you put an extra lock on the door?
I saw that David Pakman was trying to hit him on that. And it's like, what a stupid, terrible answer. Ha, ha, ha. These are supposed to be softball questions, and he's fumbling through it. As if Biden could have done like 1/10 as well as he did in this town hall. But no, he's completely right for sticking to his gun, saying, no, I didn't have to do it. That's why I didn't do it, because I didn't have to. And you can't just decide that the law is gonna be different for me. So that's why he kept them.
Showed them where they were. We showed them. Unlike being under a Corvette in a little garage with the door open all the time, we had these things locked. We were surrounded all the time by many Secret Service agents. We had Secret Service all over Mar-a-Lago. You couldn't take anything out. But what happened, and when you take a look, Biden didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He's at great jeopardy, really. But they said, look, he's incompetent to go to court, but he can be president. Figure that one. In other words, he can't represent himself at court because he's incompetent.
What should Hur be asked? What should he be asked?
Well, I just think you have to ask, why did you do it? You didn't have the Presidential Records Act. And how did you do it as senator? Dick Durbin, the senator, said there's no way he did that as senator. And then when he found...
It's a stupid question, but he didn't answer it. And I don't know if he misunderstood her question or not, but he was asking, what should Robert Hur be asked? Not what should Biden be asked? Like, why'd you do it? It's not up to a prosecutor to forego prosecution because the defendant isn't fit to stand trial. I agree with you. Anyone else would have been charged in the court, would have determined competency to stand trial. 1,000% yes. 1,000% yes. That's assessing your likelihood of conviction based on the likelihood of conviction is not a statement as to whether or not the person, in your opinion, committed a crime. And it shouldn't be a factor.
Found out, it's pretty serious.
All right, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm asking the question everyone wants to know the answer to. More with Donald Trump from Greenville, South Carolina.
That's probably the vice president question.
All right, we're back in Greenville, South Carolina, just 4 days ahead of the GOP primary where President Trump is trouncing Nikki Haley in the polls. You've seen them. I've seen them. But now, Mr. President, I've long said that Republicans should have a no state or city left behind strategy. Yeah. Ronald Reagan.
I just want to pause and say this about, there is one thing that I think he's omitting there. He's true. The Presidential Records Act does kick in and is relevant. Before she gets to her next question, he's actually a little bit mistaken in saying that a vice president doesn't have the legal right to do what a president does. He's correct. And yet not completely correct in the following sense. The EO that Obama wrote gave the vice president nearly equal declassification, if not completely equal declassification status to a president. It gave very, very broad declassification powers to both the president and the vice president of any document. So in that sense, yeah, I understand what he's saying there, that the Presidential Records Act gives him certain powers with respect to accessing records and things of that nature. But the EO that Obama signed about declassification of documents really brought in Biden's defenses, or his ability to raise defenses were he ever charged for taking documents. That's the point. And here's an issue for you. Okay. Here's an issue for you Biden fans. Okay. So I guess I'm talking to Linda and a handful of others. Okay. Here's an issue for you. You keep trumpeting about how Biden gave him back. Biden gave him back. That's what makes him a good person. Biden gave him back. Biden gave him back. The fact that he gave him back is indicative of a fact that really hurts him, which is, why'd you give them back if you declassified them? If they were declassified, why were you running to give them back? They were declassified documents. So the implication is that you had no intention of declassifying them because you gave them back. If they were declassified, you wouldn't have done that, which means that you never should have took them in the first place. So while I'm pointing out that the declassification powers that Obama created via EO perhaps raised defenses for Biden, Biden's actions with respect to these documents imply that those defenses are likely not available to him. So, in which case he would be left with really little defense, if any.
Had that strategy in 1980 and 1984. And you told Maria Bartiromo that you may campaign in the Bronx or at Madison Square Garden. When might that be happening?
Very soon. Look, we have 9 months yet, but I'm going to see about Madison Square Garden, and we're going to go to the South Bronx, and we're going to go to Queens and other areas, because if you look at what's happened in New York, I'm not even blaming the mayor. I think the mayor has sort of been told to take a back seat a little bit because they came after him violently. You know, they came after him like they're going to indict him when he started speaking up, and now he's become quiet. These are fascists we're dealing with. They're terrible people. And so I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying we have 500,000 migrants, illegal migrants in New York on Madison Avenue. They're sleeping on Madison Avenue. They're sleeping on Fifth Avenue. It's horrible what's going on. I think there's a chance to win New York. The people are very, very unhappy.
The poll today that just came out in New York, just to remind everybody, in 2020, Biden beat you by 23 points.
Can you even imagine him winning New York? Can you even imagine that? That would be amazing. I want to see him win 40 states. I'm glad he's doing this. I want to see him go after every state. No state off the table. That's right. California, we're coming for you. Hawaii, we're coming for you. Washington, we're coming for you. Oregon, we're coming for you. Illinois, we're coming for you. Even stupid Michigan, where they changed the voting laws, we're coming for you too. I want to see him go after every friggin' state. Every single one of them. Every one of them. No ground ceded. Zero. Zero. The line must be drawn here. I love it. I love it. Go after them all. Text 47 says the goal, whole and entire, is to drain the assets of Trump Enterprises, appoint someone to run it, hand out board positions, hire consultants, farm out service contracts, make donations. Yep. 100%. They definitely are trying to drain him out. He said, when we dig all. I don't care. No, there's no lost cause, Aussie Mark. There's no lost cause. Oregon is not a lost cause. No. You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know that. No. Put him on his heels. That's what swamping them would be. That's what swamping them would be. I want to see him go into New York. I want to see him go into all these different places. Come here to New Jersey.
in New York. But in the latest Siena poll, Biden's only ahead of you by 12 points, and that's with zero Republican presence and, no ads, nothing. Now, you're winning men 47-40 in this poll, but you're upside down with women 54 to 29. How could you turn that around in New York with women voters? Again, many of them love your policies, but maybe some of the other stuff they don't.
So nationally, we're doing very well with women. We're leading Biden by a lot nationally, by 12 and 14 points. And we're doing much better.
But we're talking about this 50-state strategy.
I'd like to do the 50-state. I'd like to focus on it. I wish I had more confidence in the election and, in all of the way they accumulate ballots, to be honest with you, because I think we do very well in California, but not when they send out 36 or 38 million.
But there's real progress in New York. I mean, this is a significant poll with no Republican advertising. Among Latinos, you're at 41% in New York. Among African Americans, you're at 26%. Those are 40% increases from 2020. So with a little work in a lot of these states, New England has 12 Senate seats. I mean, I'm from Connecticut. Why is Connecticut down the tubes? Why is Illinois down the tubes? Why is California lost?
New York, New Jersey.
Right.
New Jersey, very strong, with great Trump state.
Yes.
I think we have a chance.
Jersey's
if you win any of them, you automatically win the election. I mean, you'd win. Virginia's another one. New Mexico, we did great in New Mexico. I think we have a really good shot there. Colorado is very interesting because of all this mess.
You're mistaken. It's not true. It's not true. That's not what the EO says. You're mistaken. Respectfully, you're mistaken. It doesn't have to be stamped. It doesn't have to be stamped declassified. Check again.
Where you had this group of people trying to take somebody out of the ballot. They're saying we're doing very well in Colorado. I think we're doing well everywhere, but we're beating him nationally by a lot. In fact, right now we're winning the popular vote by a lot.
When Biden ran, he pledged he was going to pick a female vice president in 2020. What qualities are you looking for in your vice presidential pick?
Well, always.
I hope he says the best candidate, the best person for the job, irrespective of their intersectionality.
The first quality has to be somebody that you think will be a good president, because if something should happen, you have to have somebody that's going to be a great president. A lot of people are talking about that gentleman right over there.
Who's he pointing at, Rick?
And he's been so great. He's been such a great advocate. I have to say, this is in a very positive way. Tim Scott, he has been much better for me than he was for himself. I watched his campaign.
No.
And
no. Ew. No. Ew. No. Oh, God. No. No. Please, no.
He doesn't like talking about himself, but boy, does he talk about Trump. And I said, I called him. I said, Tim, you're better for me than you were for yourself. But he's fantastic, and he's a fantastic person.
Someone who can step into the role.
Most importantly, you have to view that.
The audience has been asked who they think would be a good choice, and various names came up. One of them was, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's made a big splash. Ron DeSantis, who's making an appearance today in South Carolina, we just found out. Obviously, Tim Scott, Byron Donald.
Play coy. Don't say anything. Nothing. Nobody. Don't give any names.
And a big presence here for Tulsi Gabbard. Very interesting. And Kristi Noem as well, I should say. Right. Are they all on your short list? And when can we expect that you will announce your choice?
The one thing.
Wait until after he's nominated.
Thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is. It just seems. I remember when Sarah Palin was actually picked, and she did have a big up, and then they just went after her at a level that nobody's seen. The Republicans themselves went after what they did.
But you'll be a one-term president because you've already served, so you can only serve for one term, although they say you'll never leave office. I assume that you'll never leave. There'll never be another election
Don't
again.
do it. He'll never leave. He's never going. Oh, these people. They are
so for that reason, it is important who you pick.
I think it's very important. But look, first is that, as we said, it has to do with whoever is, it's a very important position for that reason. You would like to get somebody that could help you from the voter standpoint. And honestly, all of those people are good. They're all good. They're all solid. And I always say, I want people with common sense, because there's so many things happening in this country that don't make sense. Who wants an open border? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants all electric vehicles? And they're fine, but you want to have choice. You want to go to combustion. You want to go to any hybrid. I think the hybrid are much better from that standpoint. But we were talking about faucets. We're talking about machine. We're talking about so much. It's all based on common sense. We want choice.
Tulsi's stance on the Second Amendment is very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. And given the decision from Hawaii, which is, and here's the thing. What did Biden and the executive branch do about Hawaii just flouting the authority of the Supreme Court and saying, we don't care what the Supreme Court says, we're ignoring them? Nothing. There's no rule of law here. There's zero rule of law. The law doesn't apply to the executive branch, doesn't apply to the federal government, doesn't apply even to state judiciary. Nothing. He should have blasted Hawaii for their ridiculous position on the Second Amendment, blasted them, destroyed them. If only because of hierarchy and recognition of that, if only to insulate himself and his own chain of command, that the state court has to recognize the chain of command and recognize the overriding power of the Supreme Court to dictate judicial decisions in all 50 states. If only for that. Nothing. Which means, do we even have a judiciary anymore? Do we even have a judiciary? Well, I was actually thinking about spending tonight, instead of doing this, I was actually thinking about spending tonight going through a decision that came out of Pennsylvania yesterday, where they were talking about the Bruen case and the Second Amendment. It came out just yesterday. It's an interesting case where they were grappling with how to apply Bruen. And I think it's a really interesting thing that I likely am going to cover on Locals tomorrow. That's a goodlogic.locals.com. That I'm probably going to be going through that decision. It's a little bit of a lengthy decision, so I'm going to have to curtail bits and pieces of it. But by and large, I'm going to try and do decisions like that, the lengthier ones, or legal writings in general, legal documents in general. I'm going to try and keep that more towards Locals. I think that's a more suitable place for it. So. Yeah, I definitely think that the way that they're approaching it is reflective of what we should anticipate seeing happening in all 50 states. And their approach is important. And they're talking about how Bruen is difficult for them to figure out how to apply it and why it's difficult for them to apply it, which you would think, why should anything be difficult about this? Why should it's just stop making these laws that are restricting gun rights? But it's not that simple, because every legislator basically campaigns on, I'm going to get rid of guns, or everyone from the left, certainly. So all these laws keep coming out, and figuring out which ones are constitutional under Bruen and which ones are not. Bruen is a decision that the Supreme Court issued last year in New York, right? In New York Rifle Association versus Bruen, where they basically strengthened the Second Amendment in ways that a lot of us were hoping for. And in that decision, they basically came out and they said, look, we passed Heller a few years back, and when we passed Heller, you guys came up with this new concept of a two-pronged test and trying to figure out how to do it, and we don't know why you came up with that. And they were talking to every circuit court. They're like, all you came up with this two-pronged test, and your two-pronged test idea was basically that first we're going to see if it's affecting the Second Amendment, and then if it is, we're going to apply a means and ends test. And if it satisfies the means and the ends test, whatever the hell that meant, that in that case, we're going to say that it satisfies Heller and everything is fine here. Well, we're going on the record as saying there's no such thing as a means ends test. That's crap. There's no such thing. That's who made that up? The Third Circuit made it up, but that's not right. There's no means ends test. And it's actually the actual test that they applied is if Second Amendment does not simply apply to individuals. And the precursor there, and this is something I want to share with all of you, because I'm going to mention this tomorrow on Locals, but I want every one of you to be armed with this when you're dealing with some stupid, moronic, idiotic leftist who's like, it's only for a well-regulated militia. Well, the Supreme Court has weighed in on that in Heller, and in Heller, they specifically wrote that the precursor there is saying that in the interest, a well-ordered militia, et cetera, is irrelevant and has nothing to do with the balance of it. That's what the Supreme Court ruled in Heller. Nothing to do with it. Well-organized militia. Nothing to do with it. And that it's an individual right that you, as an American citizen, have a right to defend yourself by whatever arms you feel like you want to bear. And anytime you hear some leftist, idiotic, moron, child brain like cretin claiming anything about militia, it's only meant for militia, that has been flatly rejected by the Supreme Court decades ago. Gone. Adios. Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. Specifically referred to as being a precursor that has no impact on your rights as an American. And it's a lie. And it's a gaslighting. It's gaslighting to pretend that that has any impact on what rights you as an American citizen have to keep and bear arms. So, and that's long before Bruin. But everyone loves saying that crap. All right, I'll stop yelling. I have a well-connected neighbors who say Tim Scott is who Trump is looking at as VP, was on to send this earlier tonight. Oh, you're going to send this earlier? All right. My neighbor is well-connected and said Tim Scott as VP yesterday. Funny how he's there in this forum with Trump. I don't know. I hope not. He's too much of a war hawk for me. If a VP isn't a natural-born citizen, are they qualified for being posts if they need to fill the role? In order to be VP, you have to be a citizen, natural-born citizen, because of that. If there's a time, I email you a request from a prior stream. Okay, I'll try to check it out. I don't think there's going to be time because I'm already at 12:30. I'm already 2.5 hours in. I still got like another 5 minutes.
In education, we want to have things that can really make our country great again. What we're doing with the open border is a disaster. We are destroying our country. We're going to change that fast, and we're going to get your energy prices down.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's less than 5 minutes.
See you on the campaign trail. Thank you very much. That's it for us tonight from Greenville, South Carolina. Thank you for watching. Good night.
There you go. I don't know what the last 5 minutes are, but I don't care. Now, I know there's a part 2 tonight. That's what I saw. I don't know. Trump, Fox is very annoying. Fox is crazy annoying. Why are you so upset, Chris? What's wrong, Chris? Why are you so upset? Let me make you feel better. Can I make you feel better? Let me make you feel better. All right. The militia has taken over government. The DOJ is taken by the FBI. International affairs taken by CIA, as if the president has any control anymore of the American voter. Yeah. It's a concern. It's a concern. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about the gas leak, Chris. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. All right, let me see. Let me see if I can find that. I didn't realize I was going to end this quickly as it did. Let me see what your request was. Let's see if I can dig that up here. Let me go to my email real fast. I'll do this real quick. Real quick. Oh, forgot about this. Oh, password, damn it. I'm just checking out what that request was. Oh, so that thing that on my email I found it here, I mentioned earlier about Elizabeth, who I was thanking for her generosity, and she sent me 50 yesterday. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to drop. First, I want to give you one of these. Elizabeth's awesome. You said my monthly contribution. Someone is posting in the YouTube chat using text girl in OK. That is not me. Apparently, they appropriated my name but changed it to all lowercase. Thanks for all you do. Enjoy all the wedding festivities. Elizabeth, Texas girl in OK. So there you go. Now you're all apprised. You are all apprised. So I got that covered. I'm glad I got that. Drop Barracuda. I see your email here. What you got here? What am I watching? All right, that's pretty quick cover. How do I I don't know what I'll do. This is what he wanted to share with y'all. Let me see it. There it is. This is what he wants me to share with y'all. It's pretty funny. Check it out. Nicely done. I don't know who created that. Somebody while we're laughing, having fun with Fanny, somebody did one more thing I need to share with you all before I get to the last of the chats and close on out of here. Somebody made this video that was just awesome, and they said they were inspired by me, and that made me proud. Did I retweet it? I might have retweeted it. Oh, this is it. This is great. This is great. Check this out. What they wrote was classic entrance concept credited to yours truly, the following pro. Here we go. I inspire greatness because this is greatness.
The most electrifying man in entertainment is here on Friday Night SmackDown.
So well timed also. You'll see. They stand up there for a while. It's just like soaking it in. All right, getting ready to go. Getting ready to go. Getting ready to get in the ring. Getting ready to get in the ring. Here I go. Fine. Okay. I'm getting ready to go in that ring. All right, here I come. I'm going into the ring. I'm marching into the ring. This is so good. So great. Wow. Do you smell what the smock is bringing? So there you go. Kudos to you. Kudos to you, creator of that, Vincent Major. Well done. Well done indeed. All right. Ed says, many would be surprised they're already in the state militia. Several states have laws making all able-bodied citizens between certain ages members of the state enacted militia. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help in qualifying if, in fact, the Heller hadn't written what they'd written. I don't think anyone's going to count you as being in the state militia. I saw that. I shared that. What are you talking about? You can smell what Fanny's cooking? That's what I shared. I shared your She-Hulk thing. I saw your email. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm sitting here looking at it right now. I don't want to show your name and dox you. But you share with me a picture. This is what I got from you in your email. As an attachment. I don't know what you want from me. That's in what you sent me. I don't know if you sent me something else. Anyway, all right. Unfortunately, we can all smell what she's cooking. All right, I think that's our show. I think I covered everything here. One thing I didn't cover, one thing I didn't do, which I really had to do, and I apologize. I didn't check on locals, my diggers, in a while. Lacey Petit says, best coverage out of all news media, social media podcasts. You are my go-to. Love America. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much, Lacey. That's really kind of you. I appreciate that. Fan says, maybe a question of law used to sue is constitutional, could punt on a fine. It's not gonna work in SCOTUS. It's not going to work in SCOTUS because it's they'll look at it as a one-off, and that it's not something that's going to be precedential on any kind of level. Because whatever they decide here, so next time the judgment will be for $200 million, and that's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not. I don't think they're going to. It's more of a trial court type of call. It doesn't feel like it is. Anyhow, that's my perspective on things. Tomorrow I plan on doing locals. I do plan on covering that decision there so we can take a look at how Bruin's been applied. It's a really interesting thing as far as understanding how the courts have been applying Bruin and understanding how their difficulties and where they're coming from. And part of what they're grappling with is Bruin made a lot of laws unconstitutional. And those laws have been around for like a while now. And all of a sudden, Bruin kind of implied that a lot of them are unconstitutional. That's kind of what the court is grappling with. Am I supposed to start now invalidating a dozen laws in this state because they're all unconstitutional? And the answer obviously is, yeah. Hello. We've had our rights taken away from us for far too long already. Yes. That's the point. That's why there's Bruin. Yes. We're going to go through that on locals. Also, I did make a mistake yesterday when I was live streaming on locals. I made a mistake. I plan on correcting that mistake, and I want to thank the individual LA librarian or law librarian, I'm not sure, who called that mistake to my attention. I'm going to correct that, but I'm going to correct it where I made that mistake, which is going to be on locals. So if you want to see me owning up that I screwed up and got something wrong and was properly corrected, if any of you see me say something, especially a misstatement of law, never, ever, ever hesitate to correct me. Someone did that over there in Rumble. I still think they were wrong. They said that's be marked declassified, but I'm always fine with being corrected. Never hesitate to correct me. And I'll try to reassess. I am going to triple check on that whole needs to be stamped declassified. I don't think that's correct at all. I don't think that's correct. But my point is this. I do think that I misstated something yesterday. Sort of. My conclusion ended up actually being correct, according to Kurt, but my analysis was rooted in logic, which was not thoroughly correct. And that part I'm going to correct. And I credit Lola Bryan for calling me out on it. I'm not trying to convince you of anything here. I'm just trying to give you the facts and law as I understand them best. And that's how I'm able to stay happy. That's my way of staying happy. You might not be able to have that outlet for staying happy. You might need to try and find other ways to stay happy. So if you need to do that, Klaus Schwab thinks that the best way for you to stay happy is to eat the bugs. And as always, my friends, I say to you, God bless you for joining me. I appreciate your company, your time, your patience, and the fact that you let me dance my way via YouTube or Rumble into your lives. No, definitely not. I appreciate that. So I thank you. God bless you. And as always, my friends, good night. Godspeed.